Live from Lombardi Field in Old Bridge, New Jersey, the PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of Old Bridge Knights postseason football. Tonight, in a Central Group 5 opening round game, the number 3 seed Knights carry a 6-3 regular season record into a playoff matchup with the number 6 seed, 4-5 Cherokee High School. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman, joined on the call tonight by my broadcast partner, David Pizzuto. And Dave, our first season covering Old Bridge Knights football here on the PDF Sports Network has been nothing short of exhilarating. The season began with a game that came down to the final play in a heartbreaking loss for the Knights. Coming off a win a week later, the team suffered another tough loss in a 1-point result. However, the team is 5-1 since that time, and perhaps no win was more impressive or exciting than the game against Colonia last week.
Absolutely, Joe, and some would argue it was a must-win against Colonia last week, at the very least to ensure their home game here tonight. It was our first ever overtime game here on PDF, and a game in which Old Bridge was down by 12 at halftime and down again by a touchdown in that overtime before coming back and beating the Patriots 36-29. But Joe, probably the most important part of that win, the Knights were 0-3 this season in games decided by one score or less. Last week they proved that they can battle and win one of those games that came down to the wire and with their backs up against the wall in a tough environment. When you win a game like that, it makes you feel invincible, and that's huge coming into a playoff run like this.
No question about that, Dave. But before we take a closer look at the Knights ahead of tonight's game, let's take a look at the bracket in the NJSIAA Central Jersey Group 5 tournament. Just 2 teams in the bracket that we've seen here on PDF this season, including Old Bridge, but undoubtedly plenty of talent that will be on display each of the next 3 weekends.
Yes, Joe, and every team knows they have a shot. You look at, even this game on paper, you look at Cherokee with a 4-5 record. It's very deceiving because they have played some great competition. So whether you're 7-2 Washington Township as the number 1 seed or the number 8 seeded Hunterdon Central team we saw a couple of weeks ago, you have the tools to win this tournament, but you have to play well, and it starts here in the quarterfinals.
Plenty on the line this weekend with 4 games in the bracket, as you see on your screen. But Dave, this Knights team finished the season playing extremely well. That being said, this group is certainly no stranger to adversity. I already mentioned the 2 tough losses in the first 3 weeks, but late in the season, with a playoff berth very much on the line, injuries struck at what seemed like the worst possible time. Despite that, this team stepped up in a huge way, ending the season with 3 consecutive wins. Knowing that a single loss down the stretch could have eliminated them from playoff contention, the Knights have effectively been fighting for their playoff lives for nearly a month.
Yes, Joe, and in high school football, you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. So coaching staffs have to make sure that win or lose, the team is getting better with each week, and give credit to this Old Bridge team for keeping that resolve. It's not just about this team cranking out wins. They've been getting better, and they go as they go. And like you said, Joe, they've done it in the face of some injuries that normally derail teams or take some of what they want to do off the table. Not so for this Knights team. They have just kept moving forward. And listen, if I'm a team in this bracket, Joe, Old Bridge is not a team I want to face.
Certainly no easy matchup for the Chiefs tonight, Dave. But all season long, we've raved about the Old Bridge defense, and rightfully so. This Knights defense allowed 8 points or fewer in 4 of 5 games at one point this season. And this Old Bridge defensive unit has found a way to do 2 things really well all year. First, they've played with a very much bend but don't break mentality in the red zone. During the rare drives where this Knights defense has been backed up inside the 20, they have often managed to find a way to get off the field. Also, when this Old Bridge team has needed a boost, this defense seems to have a knack for making a big tackle for a loss or finding a way to force a turnover. All of this and more has amounted to what has been a great year for the Knights defense.
I couldn't agree more, Joe. Even in the game last week, you see them giving up 29 points. You say, well, they had an off week. No way. Don't forget, they scored a safety in that game in the first half. It was their only points of the half, and they got 3 straight huge stops to open up the second half while the offense slowly started to develop a rhythm. They also forced a fumble, Joe, that should have ended the game, but was ruled incorrectly by the officials, a cause of some frustration, obviously, but they were still able to shrug it off and get the win. They are such a complimentary unit, Joe, and you look at kids like Justin Valinati, Zamir Evans gobbling up tackles, but Really, everyone is a leader. Florio, Haran, Balbuena in the middle of the D-line, clogging up holes and forcing runners to the outside. Tommy Kassoff on the outside edge. Guys like Xavier Diaz, Chris Benford, Tajay Walker, Munvi Francois in the secondary, all capable of making huge momentum plays. It's like you try to find the weak link, and there isn't one. It's the true definition of team defense, and former D coordinator turned head coach Matt Donahue wouldn't have it any other way.
And speaking of a team effort, as good as this Old Bridge defense was from week 3 forward, this offense comes into the playoffs red hot. Led by quarterback Brody Hunt against Monroe, the Knights scored 38. Then, in case anybody forgot how good this offense can be with Brody Nugent under center, the Knights scored a combined 71 points in the final 2 games of the regular season. You and I spoke about it all year, Dave. The Old Bridge play callers have done a tremendous job getting all of this team's playmakers involved in the game plan, and late in the season, those playmakers came through when it mattered most.
Oh, man, Joe, we know it all starts at quarterback, and Old Bridge has one of the best ones in junior Brody Nugent, but with him on the sidelines in that game against Monroe, it was Hunt and Aiden Rios gave this team a new dynamic backfield there, and we may see that lining up. We may see them lining up at quarterback from time to time, if only to get Nugent out there at running back and wide receiver. But, Joe, to me, what makes this offense so good, and it's just like you said, it's the supporting unit around Nugent. Jaden Griffith, Camo Lavencia, Johnny Serrano, Brody Hunt, Aiden Rios. You know, Jeremiah Dixon and Amari Alsbrook, both of whom missed the last 2 weeks, are going to miss the game again this week. But we've seen all of them go for 20-plus yard plays and touchdowns. How many high school teams in this area have that kind of toolbox to pull from? And, Joe, let's not forget about the unsung heroes on that offensive line. We don't talk about them a whole lot, but as a unit, they have been outstanding this season. They don't yield sacks. They push the pile forward in the run game. This offense is young, getting healthier, and like the defense, any one of them can burn you if you're not careful.
Arguably playing their best football of the season entering tonight's game, Old Bridge faces another tough test in their opening round playoff matchup with the Chiefs. When we come back, we take a look at Cherokee's road to the postseason. That's coming up next when our pregame coverage continues right here on the PDF Sports Network. And we are back here on the PDF Sports Network ahead of this opening round playoff matchup between Old Bridge and Cherokee. Before the break, I mentioned that we were going to take a look at Cherokee's road to the postseason, and that path looked quite different than that of the Knights. Following a 2-0 start, the Chiefs finished the season just 2-5 from that point forward. That being said, there's a lot more to the story than this team's win-loss record.
Yeah, Joe. So Cherokee plays in the West Jersey Football League, very heavy competitive region of football. And yes, they're 4-5 this season, but all 5 of their losses were against real good playoff caliber teams, including last week against undefeated Winslow, a 44-0 loss. The record is deceptive, but when this team is playing well, they could be a very difficult test. Their standout game was a 7-3 win over Shawnee, a 6-3 team that's getting ready for a playoff game of their own tonight. They come into Old Bridge representing their conference and with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, ready to make a statement here after 3 straight losses against some really good teams.
And all season long, we've spoken plenty about the near 1,000-yard rusher on the Old Bridge side, quarterback Brody Nugent. And were it not for injury, he may have very well reached the 1,000-yard mark. However, the Chiefs have a back who did reach the 1,000-yard milestone this season in Murad Campfield. He, along with quarterback Cooper Birdie, have accounted for all 9 Cherokee rushing touchdowns. And when this team is at their best, they can pick their spots in the passing game while heavily featuring the ground game. How does that offensive game plan match up against the Knights team that has been strong against the run this season?
Well, that's just it, Joe. When we talk about how football games are won and lost in the trenches, look no further than tonight's game. This is a Cherokee team that needs to be able to run the football, period, end of story. Joe, in their 4 wins this season, Cherokee completed only 20 passes total. And they ran the ball 149 times in those 4 wins. You could do the quick math. That's over 35 times a game. They're a tough, physical, power it down your throat team. And you're right, Old Bridge has been good against the run this year, especially later in games and as the defense starts to see some of the trends. So what does that mean for tonight? Cherokee needs a strong start in the run game. If the Knights give you an inch, you need to take a yard. You'll need to recognize holes early, and you can't beat yourself. Old Bridge will look to strip the ball away. You have to stay away from holding penalties because running on second and third and long sometimes comes off the table in those situations, and that's going to make the Chiefs very uncomfortable.
As we've mentioned already, Old Bridge comes in red hot on the offensive side of the ball. Meanwhile, this Chiefs team has not won a game this season in which they have allowed more than 10 points. Can they possibly expect to allow less than 3 scores tonight? And if they don't, what needs to happen for them to come away with enough stops to win this game?
Well, Joe, just getting back to the first thought, if you're running the ball 35, 40 times a game, it probably means you're controlling the clock and field position. And that's how you keep a high-octane offense contained. You keep them off the field. But Cherokee will have to defend at some point. We know that. And the key there is to make sure you're disciplined. You have to know where number 16 is at all times. Keep him at the line of scrimmage at all times. You can't over-pursue the ball carriers. Old Bridge will use the motion offense to get the edge. So get to the edge first, then go upfield. As a safety, you have to stay in your zone and not let guys like Griffith and Olivencia get behind you. And finally, good fundamental football and back to the basics. Good tackling, no pre-snap penalties. Smart football wins a lot of games. Force Old Bridge to have to play a good, clean game of football to beat you.
We've highlighted the Chiefs' running game already, and you touched on the passing game a bit earlier, but the passing numbers do leave a bit of cause for concern. In terms of yardage, the Chiefs are only about 20 yards per game off the pace set by Old Bridge. However, the area of concern lies in the turnover numbers. 9 interceptions thrown this year by Cherokee quarterbacks as opposed to only 4 touchdowns. We've seen how opportunistic this Knights defense has been when it comes to creating takeaways all season long. Can they count on more of the same tonight, or is there something this Cherokee offense can do to neutralize the Knights defense a bit?
Yes, and the Knights defense has a bunch of interceptions, so if they see a window, they will get that ball. And listen, Joe, the 9 picks happen when you're trailing in games, when you're forced to be one-dimensional, and when you're forced outside your comfort zone. And look, Birdie can throw the ball, but this Cherokee team is comfortable running the ball and working their high-percentage passing game. Short screens, slants, ins and outs. When you get them to second and third and long and you start to apply that pressure on the quarterback, teams get uncomfortable, bad passes get thrown, and turnovers start happening. That's going to be key for Old Bridge. And conversely for Cherokee, the run game is paramount. It keeps the clock moving. It keeps the game close. It keeps your passing game operating in high percentage mode, which is what you want.
A lot on the minds of these two teams entering this playoff matchup tonight. But as we draw closer to kickoff, we will step aside for another word from our sponsor. And we are back from Lombardi Field here on the PDF Sports Network, and the Knights have just taken the field ahead of their opening round playoff matchup with Cherokee High School. Once again, good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman, alongside my broadcast partner, David Pizzuto, and we are just moments away from our scheduled 6 p.m. kickoff here at Lombardi Field. We do expect the national anthem to begin momentarily, so perhaps we'll hold off on the point I was going to make coming out of the break. That being said, Dave, I was going to bring up the point that the Knights are going to be missing some key players tonight. You touched on it already. Jeremiah Dixon, along with Allsbrook and Chase Rizzo, out for tonight's game. And obviously, they have been without some key players this year. At this point, is it just business as usual?
I think so. It's that next man up mentality. And, Dixon and Allsbrook now, this is going to be their 3rd straight game that they're missing here. So it's not a surprise thing. And the great thing about Old Bridge is that they have been able to overcome those losses, even that debilitating loss of Brody Nugent that 1 week against Monroe. Again, just like we said in the opening, we saw Brody Hunt back there. We saw Aiden Rios. And we might still see those guys out there from time to time in the backfield. So, thrust into some different looks, Joe. They've stepped up and they've adopted new ways to look because of it.
And something that you mentioned during the earlier portion of our pregame that really resonated with me is something that you said the Knights have done so well this year, and it really stood out to me, especially in that game against Monroe that we just referenced. So many players on this offense capable of making a big play for you down the field, both in the passing game and the rushing game. We'll talk some more about those playmakers following the playing of the national anthem.
time, if you would direct your attention to the hash marks at the 50-yard line on the home side, Old Bridge High School senior Megan Valenzola will sing tonight's national anthem.
A great rendition of our nation's anthem. We are going to step aside, take a short break. When we come back, we will have the opening kickoff here live.
And we are back from Lombardi Field ahead of kickoff in this opening round playoff matchup between the Knights and the Chiefs of Cherokee High School. Old Bridge won the opening coin toss, and Dave, you always talk about the game within the game. Tonight, Old Bridge has won the toss and elected to receive.
Yeah, so what did we say one of the keys to Cherokee is going to be keep Old Bridge's offense off the field? Well, they don't have a choice now. Old Bridge wins the toss, elects to get the ball first. You don't see that a lot through our travels, but they wanted the ball first, and it's because they want to be able to control the tempo and field position of this game. They get their wish. Now let's see what the Knights can do with it.
And we spoke about the playmakers during our pregame coverage. Something else you touched on, the job that this Old Bridge offensive line has done all season long, the battle up front. Defensive line of the Chiefs against the offensive line of the Knights. Definitely a matchup to watch tonight. If you're going to limit number 16, it all starts up front. They have to create some lanes for the pass rushers to get in through that Old Bridge offensive line and blow up some of those running plays before they get started behind the line of scrimmage. And here on the opening kickoff, it's a short one. It skips toward the sideline, and it is recovered by the Chiefs.
Well, how's that for a start? And Old Bridge just fell apart there, Joe. Just mentally, you got to get on top of that ball. You have to have the wherewithal to know that that is a live ball. And there was an Old Bridge player in the orbit there of that ball, and it was just a failure to recover it and a failure to get on top of it, as if they didn't know that they needed to do that.
Zero sense of urgency. And Dave, I think the reason why is that the Knights expected this to bounce out of bounds. It did not. And that is just a poor play on special teams. There's no way around it. You have to be at least within arm's length of that ball to get on top of it should it stay in bounds. And now the Chiefs will begin the game with a handoff up the middle. Nice spin move to break a tackle in the backfield by Campfield. And he is tackled just inside of the red zone at the Old Bridge 19-yard line.
Yeah, and you mentioned Murad Campfield in the opening segment, Joe, and we're planning to see a healthy dose of the young man, the senior here. Also plays some linebacker at times, but he gets a good, solid gain of 4 after getting stood up at the line of scrimmage.
2nd down and 5 from the Old Bridge 19-yard line as the Chiefs look over toward the bench area. Relaying the signals to his offense is quarterback Cooper Birdie. Birdie in the pistol sends a man in motion to his left. And he will hand off once again Canfield looking for a running lane. He bounces it outside, stumbles inside the 15, and is knocked out of bounds right at the first down marker. I think he's less than a yard short.
Yeah, and it didn't look like it was going to materialize into much there, Joe, but very patient running, getting to that edge, and Old Bridge never truly set that edge, and as a result, Canfield able to find it. I believe we do have a holding call here, though, Joe, at least that there was some motioning towards that. We'll see if they back up the ball here.
There is a flag, and it was obstructed from our view by the Knights bench. You were right on it, Dave, and you'll see it come in right at the end of the play, dropped along the sideline nearest to the Old Bridge bench. So backed them up 10 yards, and what would have been a 3rd and inches becomes now a 2nd down and about 15.
Exactly what we spoke about, forcing this Chiefs team into 2nd and 3rd and longs.
And once again, they will hand off up the middle. The pile is pushed to about the 20, maybe the 21.
Looks like number 28, Joseph Bainon, with the carry. He was the up back, I believe, on that play.
And the Chiefs will hurry back to the line here on 3rd down. 3rd and 8. Birdie in the shotgun, flanked in the backfield by Campfield. Receiver out wide to the left to Sam Resto, and he will move even closer to that sideline.
Yeah, they have Francois and Island on the right side.
Fake handoff, quick throw left, complete to Resto, and he's brought down quickly for a very short gain on the play. Give him maybe 3, possibly 4, and with that, 4th down is coming up, 4th down and a long 4.
Yeah, short tackling of number 22, Jaden Endaz, putting down the wide out there on that last play, and it's something that Old Bridge will look to. They'll give you those 3 and 4 yard outs and ins, but they are sure tacklers on the field defensively.
We've mentioned all season long how big of a factor Lucas Michael has been in the kicking game for the Knights. No field goal attempt coming here for the Chiefs. They are in the pistol on 4th down. Perhaps they could be looking to draw Old Bridge off sides here. They'll get reorganized in the offensive backfield. And Birdie fakes the handoff, rolling to his right on the play-action pass. He looks and completes to the right. Tackle made at the 1.
Yeah, and he had options there, Joe, did Birdie, and he dropped it off to the interior receiver as opposed to the exterior receiver, or the receiver that was lined up to the outside, and it pits them now at 1st and goal. Good misdirection play.
Birdie rolling against his throwing hand. He now has 3 backs behind him in the offensive backfield. And whistles will blow this play dead before it can get started. And we will see here what the call is. I do not see a flag on the field.
Well, there was a whistle there, and I wasn't sure what it was either. But
it's 1st and goal from the 1. No flag. Handoff up the middle. Campfield, touchdown. And just like that, the Chiefs take it into the end zone for 6 following the recovery on the game's opening kickoff.
Well, power versus power that time. They had 3 players in the backfield. Call it the wishbone, call it the full house, whatever you wish. But that was just well executed there. Looked like wishbone formation. Everybody at the line of scrimmage, and the power right option is true for Campfield. And couldn't have had a better start for Cherokee. Losing the coin toss, Old Bridge elects to get it first. Instead, it's Cherokee's ball first, and they have to go just 25 yards for their first points of the game.
And we said it during the pregame, Dave. So often this season, this Old Bridge defense has been bend and don't break. They forced a 4th down play. They faked the handoff on the 4th down, and Birdie, rolling against his throwing hand to his right, a left-handed thrower, managed to make a perfect pass across his body. He dropped it in just behind a Knights defender in the secondary. The tackle is then made at the 1, setting up that touchdown carry. Obviously, this Old Bridge team has faced adversity this season. I'm not sure there's been a much more adverse start than we've seen here in this game tonight.
Yeah, well, this is the 3rd game in a row now that Old Bridge has yielded a touchdown on the opening drive of the game to the opposite team. A couple of weeks ago, we were here, Joe, against that Hudderdon Central team. Hudderdon Central went 60 yards for their first score. They made it an 8-0 game, and it took Old Bridge a good quarter and a half to really start to get the gears grinding a little bit. Last week, they give up the quick touchdown. to Colonia on Colonia's first drive of the game. And now back having to play from behind in the early stages of the first quarter. That touchdown scored at the 9:02 mark, so only 2 minutes and 58 seconds coming off the clock.
9:02 to go. Another short kick off the fingertips of a Knight. And I think Old Bridge got back on top of it just barely.
Yeah, I think that was Kassoff who made the up man, who stopped the ball and then on his hands and knees got back to it just in time. Sneaky little play that time. Matthew St. John kicking off here for Cherokee and was able to squeeze it through one of the lanes, and that was tough. But if you're Old Bridge here, Joe, you could take advantage. Good field position here to start.
Special teams coordinator for the Chiefs earning that paycheck tonight. Give the man a raise with the way this game has started. The Knights certainly were caught off guard a bit there, but they do recover an onside kick attempt and will start this drive at their own 44-yard line. Brody Nugent in the shotgun looking toward his bench here. Two receivers wide to the left, one man wide right. High snap, fake handoff. Nugent rolling to his left, in trouble. He's being chased toward the sideline and is forced to throw it away.
Yeah, Olivencia was in the neighborhood on the right side, but Nugent had to wait for him to get to that area, Joe. Otherwise, he was risking a grounding. And I think that play was doomed from the start. I actually think that was supposed to be an inside handoff, but because of the high snap, Rios was kind of ahead of the play a little bit, and Nugent couldn't hand it off.
That was Josh Shartoff on the pressure, forcing Nugent to roll to his left. And the high snap definitely set that play back from the jump, both in a literal and metaphorical sense.
Yeah, still a pretty smart play, though, by Nugent to just stay calm, stay poised, and throw that one away.
Nugent back in the shotgun here, four receivers wide. He throws right and throws high. That pass incomplete, intended for Cam Olivencia.
Yeah, and that's something we've seen from Nugent this year, Joe. When he does miss, he usually misses high and away. And Olivencia was there. He was sitting down at about the 50-yard line, and if that hits him right in the chest, he's able to kind of turn up the field, maybe get the first down. But as Nugent kind of calms down during the game, Joe, his passing does get better, something that we've noticed. But the jitters here on the first true drive of the game for them, now they have to face a 3rd and long.
Once again, four receivers wide in the shotgun for the Knights. Nugent will look to throw. Nugent rolling to his right, completes, and that is enough for a first down. Griffin Nugent from Brody Nugent.
Yeah, it's a Nugent connection, and they needed 10. They got 12, and a good job by Brody Nugent to backpedal in the backfield, Joe, to make that play happen. That was an all-out blitz, cover 0.
And they will hurry right back to the line as Griffin Nugent takes the handoff on first down. He picks up about a yard. And we saw this tempo utilized with great effectiveness a couple of weeks ago against Hunterdon Central.
Yeah, we did, and that's something that Old Bridge, again, likes to do early in games, keeps the defense from getting substitutions in the game or funneling players in and out, gets them confused in the secondary sometimes. So sometimes with this pace, you do expect the Knights to take a shot down the field as well.
Shotgun set, four receivers wide. Once again, high snap, fake handoff. Nugent forced to his left. Looking downfield, throws deep, and that pass is dropped. Big opportunity there for Aiden Rios. He had his hands on it, but the ball just a bit underthrown, forced him to make a sliding attempt, and it hit off his fingertips.
Yeah, and again, I think Nugent had the option there, Joe, whether to tuck it down and run. There was good edge pressure by the Chiefs that time. He sees Rios down the field, single coverage, very late safety help on that play, and pass looked like it was there, just like you said, Joe, and Rios just could not track it down all the way.
And you can see the respect that this defensive front has for Nugent's ability to run as well. You could see the end on that left side was forced to maintain his position and contain the quarterback, and that allowed Nugent the ability to roll. Blitz coming. Nugent throws incomplete off the hands of Griffin Nugent.
Well, again, the ball a little bit high forces Nugent to kind of have to adjust, but that's a play that has to get made. Nugent unable to bring it in right near his helmet area. That would have been good for the first down and some more, and it will force the Knights into a punting formation. We're not going to say punt just yet, Joe.
And I think you were wise to avoid saying that, as you never know in these punt formations what Nugent will look to do. Here he kicks it immediately, and it does take an Old Bridge bounce, rolling inside the 15. This ball will come to rest just inside the 10.
36-yard punt, no return. So Old Bridge will take that and will force Cherokee to have to go 91 yards here on this drive.
Facing a potential 3-and-out, that's not the worst outcome for the Knights.
Yeah, and I was going to say that is a big victory for the Chiefs after surrendering the ball at the 43-yard line for Old Bridge to start. You only allowed them 12 yards on their opening drive, and you really took the ball out of Nugent's hands on the ground. They forced him to have to roll out and make decisions and put the ball in the air, and they were only successful on that one pass.
We spoke plenty about the Old Bridge defense during the pregame, but the numbers for this Chiefs defense skewed a bit by the strength of schedule, as you alluded to during our look back at their season. Their offense now takes the field in the pistol. Throw short to the right is complete, blocking set up, and that's a short gain for Josh Shartoff, who was involved defensively on that last drive with the pressure on Nugent. He now has the reception to open up this drive.
Yeah, and Shartoff, a junior on this team that does feature. And it looks like there was a penalty there late thrown on the play. And they're going to pick it up, Joe, and there is no flag. Something we didn't talk about, Joe, in the opening, but one thing that has derailed Old Bridge this season has been penalties. They have an overwhelming amount more penalties than their opponents this season.
Definitely something to watch tonight. Penalty yardage, among many other points of emphasis for these two teams in a do-or-die game. Handoff here goes to Campfield. He has running room, and he works out of bounds across the 20. That's enough for a Chiefs first down.
Yeah, and Campfield, if he's going to be able to get to that edge, he's going to have a lot of success tonight against the Knights. And what I like about Campfield is that he's got a lot of size, but he also has a great deal of speed. So it looks very deceptive. When he's running east to west, you don't think he's going to be able to get that edge with that big frame of his. But, you know, you could see here he just outpaces Michael Kavas, who's very good on the edge. We mentioned him in the opening. Being able to maintain that edge. He got beat that time.
We've seen Cherokee go to that outside zone run a couple of times on these first two drives. Campfield now in motion pre-snap. He spins away from a tackle, but he cannot escape Zamir Evans. He turned what would have been a loss of 4 or 5 into a loss of 2.
Yeah, but that's great pressure for Old Bridge to get into the backfield, and really by the time Campfield gets that handoff, there's somebody right in his hip pocket. And again, when Zamir Evans gets his hands on you, it's very hard to get away from him. He cleans things up. Big loss of one or 2 yards on the play.
Officially a second down and 12 here for the Chiefs. They'll send a man in motion pre-snap. And Birdie will throw to his left. That is complete to the motion man, Darwin Walker. And Walker is pushed out of bounds at the 25-yard line for a gain of 4.
Yeah, nice bit of upfield blocking that time, too, by Shartoff on Endaz. Endaz was able to shed him just enough to make that tackle at the 22-yard line or so. Actually, 25-yard line is the spot of the ball, so we're going to have a 3rd down and 6 coming up.
You give him 6 on that gain. It was 2nd and 12 rather than 2nd and 10. So a 3rd down and medium here. Chance for the Chiefs to keep this drive going, already leading by a touchdown. Birdie gets further instruction from his bench. One receiver wide to the left, bunch to Birdie's right. And he will hand off. Campfield turns upfield, has blocking. He's into the second level and tripped up at the 40-yard line.
There is a shoe down. I thought it was a flag at first. Campfield lost one of his boots on that rush. He gets the first down and a lot more. And that time, everybody, of course, going to the outside, thinking that Campfield is going off tackle right. Instead, he hesitates, pops back over into the inside where there was a nice gaping hole for him to go to. You could see Old Bridge funneling over to that right side, and it allows for Campfield to get through. And on a drive that started at the 9, they're now in great shape at their own 40.
With that bunch look, there was a lot of open turf outside of that bunch formation, and the Knights had to respect his ability to bounce it outside. That opened up the running lane as they will hand off again, and a big hit put on Brendan Markovsky, getting his first carry of the game. That was Kassoff on the big hit.
Yeah, we saw Kassoff going off a couple of times last week due to injury. He's back in the lineup today. Of course, a lot of nicks on this defense as well. Guys nicked up from time to time, but good to see Kassoff out there make a good, clean tackle, hold it to a gain of just 2.
2nd down and 8 coming up here as Birdie looks toward the bench. With each play, the Chiefs have gotten to the line of scrimmage very quickly, have not snapped it as quickly. This time, trips to the right. The lone receiver wide to the left is Resto. Resto in motion. And Birdie will look to throw. Birdie looking right, running out of time, scrambles forward, has plenty of running room. Birdie up the left sideline, across the 40, 30, 20, and pushed out of bounds at the 15-yard line.
Yep, and that's something you can't sleep on with Cooper Birdie. Is he got wheels as well, and he showed it there, was able to step up in the pocket. There's no spy on him, and when the seas kind of parted, a little bit of over pursuit by Endaz on that right side coming in from the end position, and you could see the big hole opening up there. Great interior blocking, and here we go. 2nd time inside the red zone here for Cherokee.
Take your pick on that last play. He had an open receiver coming across to the left with plenty of running room as well. The Knights defense got crossed up there with a pair of underneath patterns. Short over the middle. Once again, Birdie in the shotgun, ball at the 15-yard line. And he will hand it off. Campfield has the edge, but he's tripped up from behind by Evans.
Wow, he got just enough. I thought he got behind Evans, or I thought he got through Evans, but a shoestring tackle, a gorgeous one, able to keep it to a short loss here, a 2nd and 11. And a good play to disrupt a little bit of momentum here.
A shoestring tackle in every sense of the term. We're under 4.5 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Trips to the left once again for Cherokee. Wide to the right is Walker. He had a reception earlier on this drive. Alongside Birdie in the backfield is Campfield once again. Campfield now to Birdie's right. And he will take the handoff up the middle. Short gain on the play. Give him about 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, Endaz at the bottom of that pile as well as Kassoff, and that's a good job now. Puts up a 3rd down and 9 coming up for Cherokee. And now if you're Old Bridge, you have to pick your poison here of what you want to do. You still have to respect the run in this scenario. You know that Birdie could take off and step up in the pocket. And, of course, they got 4 wide, including a trio here on the near side.
Trips to the left. Birdie right back in the shotgun. And he will look to throw. He's looking left. And that pass is nearly picked off. A great play by Michael Kavas to get up and get that one. And he used all of his 6'2 frame on that play.
Yeah, 100%. That was a great play by Kavas. You could see slow developing, kind of a pick play going on, or just a lot of traffic. It was a traffic jam at about the 10-yard line that was piling up there, and they were looking to spring out the wide out on the near side and take it to the sideline. And here we go on 4th down. Looks like we are going to have a field goal attempt of 32 yards by St. John.
Matthew St. John, the kicker for Cherokee High School. Big spot here, and he sends one that looks to be good. 10-0 Chiefs over the Knights, but Dave, once again, the Old Bridge defense bends and does not break. That being said, a good-looking drive from Cherokee to take it from their own 9 into position for a field goal.
Yeah, and we are at 3:10 remaining in the first quarter, which means that the quarter is about 9 minutes old, and Old Bridge has only run about 5 plays. They got a first down on a 3rd down attempt, and then they went 3 and out from there. So Cherokee is just doing everything right at this point, and you give credit to head coach Brian Glotz. He recognizes an opportunity for St. John to come in, make this a 2-score game early. Free points, take them if you feel confident enough in your kicking game, and you got to like that, especially on a drive that started at the 9-yard line.
Yeah, and I think that's where it really hurts. If you're Old Bridge, you put the Chiefs behind the 8 ball, to speak, going into that drive backed up against their own end zone. If you find a way to get off the field there, you can reassert yourself in the battle of field position. Instead, they surrender the 3 points.
Well, it's exactly why you punt when you're at your opponent's 40-yard line, because you want to pin them in. You trust your defense to get a 3 and out and get the ball right back where you started.
Let's see what we have in store here on this kickoff. This is a more traditional kick, and that is received by the Knights back inside their own 20. Making a move upfield and stumbling forward was Xavier Diaz, and he is tackled just shy of the 35-yard line. So a nice run back there by Diaz on the kick return, and that will set up Old Bridge with good field position.
Yeah, I mean, when he received that, it looked like he was bottled up about 10 yards behind where they're spotting the ball right now at the 34-yard line. Instead, he's able to push the pile and continuing to churn the legs. You see it from a distance, the holes that he opts to go in from. Yeah, he was first touched the 25-yard line, able to get 9 more yards out of it. Great job by Xavier Diaz, the junior.
Wasn't too long ago where we saw a 4-interception game from Diaz. Old Bridge offense back on the field. 2 receivers out wide to the right. Griffith in tight, now in motion from the left, and they fake the handoff to him. Nugent out across the 35, and he is stood up there following a gain of 2.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, Nugent went left. If he would have cut over to his right and hit the hole that was developing on the right side, he might still be running. He just, saw the immediate hole on the left side, and the Chiefs kind of got there and bottled it up pretty nicely after a gain of just 2. But if he would have cut up to the inside a little bit more, right there, maybe he could have had a little bit more. There was some white jerseys there.
And the way that the Chiefs are defending early in this game, you can see how much respect is being paid to the ability of Nugent to run. They are maintaining the edge as they hand off to Griffith here. He has running room. Griffith bounces it outside, up the sideline, across the 40, 30, and pushed out of bounds there following a huge gain on 2nd down.
Well, Joe, I hate to say it, but that's what happens when you're keying in on one player, Brody Nugent. Now all of a sudden you can get others involved, and you got so much action going over to meet Nugent where he is. They kind of lost Jaden Griffith in between the trees, and he was able to get a huge gain.
The Knights once again hurry to the line of scrimmage, and Nugent will look toward his bench here ahead of a 1st down snap from the 30.
It's a 34-yard gain, and we talked about how many different players can get over 20-yard gains in this game. There's the first.
Nugent will fake the handoff and take it up the middle. Still on his feet and taken down at the 20-yard line, perhaps just short of it, and he will be inches short of the line to gain.
Yeah, and they're going to work very quickly here. They don't want Cherokee to recognize what they're doing. Keep them on their toes, keep them in base defense. They can't move around. A lot of man-on-man matchups here.
And a flag comes out following the pre-snap motion by Walker.
That's a tough one there. A false start is going to be called here for Old Bridge. And that's one of the byproducts that we've seen of them working quickly, Joe. We've seen that a few times this season where sometimes they're so quick they fail to get set. And then when Nugent kind of abandons the line of scrimmage and walks back to the huddle, someone goes with him.
And that was immediately following the motion. They didn't indicate which player was responsible for the false start, but either way, it does back them up 5 on what was going to be a 2nd down and inches to go. It's now officially a 2nd and 6. Nugent back in the shotgun, flanked by Nugent in the offensive backfield. And he will hand off to Nugent up the middle for no gain.
Yeah, just maybe a gain of 1 that gets him exactly to the 25. So make it a 3rd down and 5. But, again, you want to use the misdirection. You want to get more guys funneling in towards Brody Nugent and catching Griffin Nugent underneath, but not to be. Good job by the Cherokee interior line to stand up at the line of scrimmage, not let anything really pass them through the A-gaps.
And that was the very short gain that they would have needed on 2nd and inches to pick up a 1st down. Instead, it's 3rd and 5, and you have to think this is 4-down territory from the 35-yard line. A field goal not on the table from here.
Could be the final play of the first quarter as well.
Nugent looks right, now rolls left. He's being chased from behind, has time, and completes that pass toward the sideline as Johnny Serrano is knocked out of bounds at the 14.
Yeah, that's a lot of confidence by Nugent, too, because he very easily could have tucked that down, raced towards the pylon or the first down marker, and gotten the first down, I think, with ease. Instead, trusting his receiver and getting it out there to Serrano, and he makes the sure-handed catch and exits out of bounds quickly.
Well, right now the clock is stopped at 22 and a half seconds.
Yeah, Serrano going out of bounds and the ball being reset because of the first down. Surprised on the whistle here, it will start moving.
And Nugent will keep it. He looks to take it left, has room, makes a move inside, and is in for 6.
17 seconds left in the first quarter, and Old Bridge is starting to find some room in there, Joe. They had Jaden Griffith go off right tackle for 36 yards, getting more players in the game. Now you got to pay Serrano some respect on the corner because he came up with a huge first down, and then boom, you hit him right where it hurts, right between the teeth here. Nugent spinning, finding some open room, and then in the open field, blows right by the defender and Michael in to make this a tie game.
Such a well-blocked play as well. You could see it at the beginning of that replay, and I'll elaborate following this extra point try by Lucas Michael, and his kick is up and good. The Knights now trail 10-7, but Brendan, let's run that replay back one more time. You'll see from the right side of the formation, 3 separate players were pulling toward the left side of the offensive line, and that trio, we'll see if we can identify them all here, come across the formation and set that play up to perfection. Nugent didn't need much running room on the play. He got exactly what he needed and then capped off that run with a nice juke to the inside.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. That entire right side of the line kind of pulled left. Brody Hunt was in that mix as well, and Hunt continued to go down the field as well and lay out some more blocks. There he is, number 9. He's almost the up back on that play, and he just continues down the field looking for somebody else to block. Just a nice job all around. And I think I misspoke when I said they were going to tie the game up, but it is 10-7, but they got on the board. 1 touchdown apiece for both of these teams. And now with your defense having watched that, you wonder if the swell of confidence will come up now in this Knights team.
And to give them their due, I believe joining Nugent on that last blocking assignment were Noah Balbuena and Tremel Forson. I think it was 75 and 55 in there with number 9 on that last play, setting up the blocks on the left side. So now the Knights will kick off for the first time in this game. And perhaps they have a trick up their sleeve now. I don't think they need it at this point, but we've seen a pair of surprise short kicks, and this is a shorter kick, which is scooped up on the dive. No attempt at a return, with the player for the Chiefs having gone down. That was Dante Harrison who made the dive and grab, but once he's down, he does not get the chance to get up and run that back.
That's a nice job by Harrison, though, to kind of track that while going to his knees and trapping that and making the catch. Remember, that's a live ball if it hits turf, and yeah, assuredly. So it doesn't get the benefits of a return there. Once your knee hits the ground, you're done. But 37-yard line, you'll take this starting field position for Cherokee. 15.9 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Now this could be the final play.
And we said that for the first time 3 plays ago.
Eventually we'll be right about that, Joe.
Shartoff in motion, and they will hand off up the middle. Campfield jukes and is out across the 45, tackled at the 47. That is enough for a Chiefs first down.
Yes, they will. The clock stops very briefly to reset the chains here with 10 seconds to go, but good hard running by Campfield. Got to be very impressed with the way he's running the football here. The Knights are there. They're getting hands on him. That'll do it for the first quarter.
An exciting start to this game. Cherokee comes into Lombardi Field and jumps out to a 10-0 lead. The Knights then respond with a touchdown drive of their own. Our score after 12 minutes, Cherokee 10 and Old Bridge 7. We'll be right back with the second quarter here on the PDF Sports Network.
Flips.
And we are back for the start of the second quarter in this New Jersey high school football opening round playoff matchup between Cherokee High School and Old Bridge High School. Once again, Joe Foreman alongside Dave Pizzuto on the call. And Dave, what an entertaining first quarter. Both of these teams came out swinging. The Chiefs jumped out to a 10-0 lead. The Knights answer right back.
Yeah, we've only had the one defensive stop so far, and that was Cherokee forcing Old Bridge into a punt on their first drive of the game. Otherwise, it's been back and forth here, entertaining, and a lot of running for both of these teams.
And a bit more running here as Campfield has his second first down carry of the drive in as many plays. 2 carries, 20 yards, and 2 first downs for Cherokee.
Yeah, and Justin Valinati a little bit upset at that last play because he was in the backfield to meet Campfield, but just a hair late on that one, and Campfield was able to get past him, and now Campfield hobbling over to his bench. Good look by Vinny Massacol on our hero cam. Looked like he was nursing that hamstring as he was going back. Yeah, there it is, that left hammy, and now he goes off after the 20-plus yards, and here comes Cherokee without him.
Birdie will hand off once again, this time to Markovsky. He broke one tackle, but could not get much further as he is tackled at the 40, and Dave, that loss of Campfield could be huge, even if just for a few plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try to pick him up on the sideline with my binoculars in just a moment. But Old Bridge, recognizing the substitution now, went right after Markovsky and the ball on that last play. So Markovsky, they sense blood in the water through these nights here with the new player coming in. Markovsky, only a sophomore on this team, but has to shoulder the load on this drive.
2nd down and 8. Markovsky gets the handoff again, and once again the Knights are right there. Gain of 1 will bring up a 3rd down and 7.
Yep, and I don't see Campfield back there. It looks like he's behind his players on the trainer's table somewhere back there, lost and everything. But here we go, big play. You'd maybe assume this is 4-down territory here, assuming what happens, but there's a big 3rd down and 7.
I think whether or not you go for this comes down to how close you get. I wouldn't go for it on 3rd and 7. If it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, I might go for it. We'll see if the Chiefs can make that a moot point. It is 3rd and 7. Ball just inside the 40. And the snap goes through Birdie's hands. He scoops it up and throws it away, and it's nearly caught. Wow.
Yeah.
Coming back to the ball was Walker. I can't believe he had a chance at it, but Birdie came up just short on the throw.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was the route that Darwin Walker was running anyway, but what a good job by Walker to recognize what's going on and then coming back to the ball and trying to meet it close to the 1st down marker. Now, Cherokee is fixing to punt here. Good pressure, obviously. A pretty decent throw, understanding you're backpedaling. And Walker did a nice job adjusting his route, just couldn't complete the play.
That's just about as good as it gets in that situation under that kind of pressure. The Chiefs will now look to punt, and they get it away. Fair catch called for, and this will bounce out of bounds at the 5.
Man, gorgeous punt. Old Bridge wasn't going to play that at all. And, yep. They played it beautifully there, about a 34-yard punt, no return. And now Old Bridge, a very similar start that Cherokee had when they went on their field goal drive in the later stages of the first quarter. 9:44 to go in quarter number 2. But for all intents and purposes, Joe, the defense does their job for Old Bridge. They get a score from their offense, they get back on the field, hold them to a 5-and-out, essentially, and now they give the ball back to their offense.
This drive begins at the 5. Nugent will keep it once again as he tries to take it outside of right tackle, and he is across the 10-yard line for a nice gain on that 1st down carry. Give him 6.
Yeah, he looked dead to rights on that play, right in the backfield, stood up at the line of scrimmage, and instead is able to mouse through a hole and get himself 7 yards on that play. Good job by Cherokee to stay with him and take him down. We know how dangerous Nugent is when he gets to that second level, and it happened on that play as well.
It is 2nd down and 3. They gave him 7 on that carry, as we'll get one more look at that run. by Nugent. And again, a nice block on the outside, as you've seen it all game long. This Chiefs team committed to maintain and contain on the edge, as Nugent will fake the handoff here and complete that pass out across the 20. On the reception was Brody Hunt, and that is good for a Knights first down.
Yeah, that's a great relationship in the passing game that's developing between Brody and Brody. That connection has been really working well over the last few weeks. Saw them execute a fake punt that way as well with that connection.
Knights back to the line quickly as they will hand off to Griffin Nugent. Gain of 1 on the play.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Old Bridge has been missing, the power running of Jeremiah Dixon. Now, week 3 without him in the lineup. He was limited 4 weeks ago against Monroe, too. So he's been out of the lineup. They miss him running, again, through the guards, through the tackles. And they're letting Griffin Nugent get some reps there. We've seen Rios as well in that situation, but really he hasn't gotten many reps in the backfield in this game. Right now he's lined up in the slot.
Shotgun set once again, 4 receivers wide. Nugent looking left, throws downfield, incomplete as it lands right at the feet of Jaden Griffith.
You know, we've seen so many plays where Griffith looks like he's behind the defense, where he's going to break through. The balls have been around him, but not really on him as well. And I'll tell you what, that's one area where the Knights are missing a little bit more consistency, Joe. They do put the ball up in these situations time and again, almost once per drive. They're looking for that deep shot. And their rate of return is very low in those situations, but you just think if they could find that piece to their game, this offense could be unstoppable.
Nugent has to pump fake here under pressure, throws and completes. Nugent has blockers, makes a man miss, is across the 40 and tackled at the 42.
Wow, Joe, I can't wait to see that one again, because Nugent pump faked at Nugent the first time and almost waiting for the defense to come closer to Nugent, closer to him in the offensive backfield, and then he decided to drop it off. We'll return to live action in just a moment. But watch what he does. He almost draws the defense towards him, and that allows Griffin Nugent to spring free. 3rd down and 9, they're able to convert. That's a huge conversion for Old Bridge.
Big first down for the Knights, keeps this drive alive at the Old Bridge 42. Nugent will take the handoff, and he is taken down after a gain of 2. 2nd down and 8 coming up. And Dave, going back to that play with Griffith, and to your point about this Knights team throwing down the field, that one play there in particular, if Griffith finds the football and comes back, that's one of those where the ball is in the perfect spot to draw a flag from the official as well. And then obviously on the 3rd down play, the defense again paying so much respect to Brody Nugent's ability to run, and that time it cost the Chiefs the first down, because I don't think Nugent was going to be able to run for that one.
Yeah, the linebacker Daniel Cruz was kind of cemented there in no man's land, and Griffin Nugent went behind him, and Brody Nugent finds him in stride.
Low snap, scooped up by Nugent. He's in trouble, and he does reach the line of scrimmage with that throwaway, bringing up a 3rd down and 8, but we've seen it on both sides now. The quarterback put in a precarious position by a poor snap.
Yeah, 100%. Both quarterbacks doing well on those plays to get back and at least not taking a huge loss and derailing the drive. It'll remain 3rd down and 8. Here in this case, Nugent able to get rid of it in time. But, yeah, it's a debilitating play. And I think the one thing that Cherokee is doing well is that they're really stopping that run on 1st down and forcing Old Bridge into obvious passing situations on 2nd and 3rd.
Another Knights 3rd down coming up here. Nugent will look to throw for it. He now takes off up the middle with running room, and he has the first down and more. Nugent still on his feet, finally brought down at the 40. However, they will not give him that forward progress as the ball is going to be spotted at the 43.
Yeah, well, he got the 8 requisite yards he needed for the first down, and that time able to step up in the pocket, find some room. And, you know, Brody Nugent one-on-one against the linebacker, my money's on Nugent every time. And he did a little shake and bake there in that second level to get the requisite yards. We'll get you back to live play. We'll get a chance to look at that later, but a gain of about 3 here on this one.
Knights hurrying it up once again following that first down carry by Nugent. Will pick up about 4 yards, give him 3 on the first down carry. 2nd and 7 coming up here, but this Old Bridge offense utilizing tempo very well, and when they've been in third down situations, they have found a way to convert on these last couple of drives.
Yeah, and I'm not going to hate these 2 and 3 yard gains on first down, but Cherokee doing a nice job of limiting that, and now here we go out of the shotgun again.
2nd and 7, handoff to Griffin Nugent, and he is stood up after a gain of 1.
Yeah, and you kind of see it, or at least you sense it coming from the Old Bridge sideline, that head coach Donahue and the assistant coaches, they really want to get the run game established, Joe. You can go back to pass, and you can have Nugent do all these great things, but how long is that going to last? How often can you go back and convert 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9? So they really need to get into these 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 situations. Even this, to me, is a little bit too far for comfort, 3rd and 6.
They're in a spot right now where, again, if they get close, they might have 2 downs to pick this up. Nugent will line up in the shotgun. Initially, he had trips to his right. Griffith will now motion to the left.
Interested to see if they will spy Nugent here.
Nugent is looking left, now looks right and throws that way. Downfield, incomplete. I believe Griffith was the intended target on the crossing route. He was the closer of the 2 receivers, though, in the slot from that right side. Aiden Rios was headed up the field as well.
Yeah, but they are going to go, and they're going to try to go quickly here if Griffith can get back to the line of scrimmage. There he goes.
They may try and draw a penalty here. I'm not certain they're going for this.
But they almost had it there.
I wouldn't be surprised either way. My money is on them not going for it, Dave.
4:26 to go.
It's 4th and 6.
Unless they're going to take a timeout here. 4th down and 6.
And a timeout is called. So I suspect I was correct in that the Knights are not going to go for this. That being said, Dave, it looks like the offensive personnel was staying out on the field.
Yep, unless head coach Matt Donahue wanted to see how the Cherokee Chiefs would line up in that formation and what they would present defensively if they were to go for it. And I think given the way they're talking right now, that this is going to be a play that's drawn up and they are going to go for it. I do see, Joe, for Cherokee, Murad Campfield has his helmet in his hands. He's on the sideline, no longer at the trainer's table, and you think maybe that's part of the decision too, because if you don't make it here and give the ball back 65 yards away from the end zone for Cherokee, do you like your chances better defensively when Campfield is not in the game?
Personally, Dave, I'm probably not going for this. That's
fair.
That would be my inclination.
In a 3-point game, that's very fair.
I think the reason why is, 1, because Campfield is hobbled, but 2, because they've run it to beat you. Mm-hmm. And to run it all the way downfield in 4:21, far from a foregone conclusion you'll be able to do that.
Well, they're going to go here. Single high safety for Cherokee.
Empty shotgun set. And a false start will derail any opportunity to go for it now.
Yeah, and Griffith knew it. And he's holding his head. He knew that he... Oh, actually, wait a minute. Is it going to get called for encroachment first? Now, both coaches, or at least on Cherokee's side, you see at the 40-yard line, Brian Glatz going a little bit ballistic here. We'll see if we can catch who goes offside first.
Slow it down as well, Brendan. And we'll get a look and see if perhaps we can spot where the penalty was. And it is indeed encroachment.
It is. We'll see. Oh, yeah, on that left side perhaps, Joe. The left side of the defensive line.
So they're going to say that the defensive line drew the receiver into moving early.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there was contact there.
I know.
Encroachment implies
contact, right?
Yes.
That's why I said it was maybe the left side, because the right side there was no contact.
Yeah.
It's probably what drew. You're right. It's what drew Griffith, but it was maybe the left side that had the contact. Either way, it's still 4th down though, just 4th and a little bit less than 1.
Well, now you certainly go for it, and the formation changes as Nugent will keep and he will pick up enough for a first down. He needed 1. He picked up about 2.5, and that will keep this Knights drive alive with just over 4 minutes to go in the first half. And Dave, on top of that, it keeps the ball out of Cherokee's hands.
And they want to go very quickly again.
Nugent will keep once again, and it's another short gain for the Knights quarterback as he is tackled right at the 30. Gain of 2 on first down. And you said it before, Dave, you'll take 2 and 3 yards on first down, but they've been positive plays. They have not set themselves back. They have not taken sacks and have not been tackled for a loss. At the very least, that's a victory for Old Bridge. That being said, this Chiefs defense has done a really good job on the early downs.
Yeah, and I'm also seeing 1, 2, 3 Cherokee players with hands on hips now. So you're getting to that point of this drive, 3.5 minutes remaining, where the defense has now been out there for a little while now, and especially those guys in the trenches, it's tough to keep peeling yourself up off the carpet.
4 receivers wide in the shotgun, but they will hand off again, and Nugent gets planted 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. That will bring up third down and about 9.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I know it's still early, but I'm surprised that Old Bridge is not running more of their motion offense, Joe, with Jaden Griffith going from right to left or left to right and getting those handoffs and running almost downhill. It looks like when they're running out of these formations and from I formation and the pistol set, they're just not getting a lot of forward momentum into that line of scrimmage. Another 3rd and long.
Once again, an empty shotgun set. Nugent will look to throw. He's under pressure, rolling left, trying to escape, and is forced to throw it away, bringing up a 4th down and 9. And Dave, I'm inclined to say if you were going to go for it before, you go for it now.
I think you have to here at the 32-yard line. Now, obviously, you're not going to kick from this distance. Michael has a great leg. It's not, I think, this great. This will be about a 49-yard field goal. So they are going to go here on 4th and 9. And remember that if you line Nugent up 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage instead of maybe 5, then he could survey real quick and then just pooch punt. Because you don't need to get a lot on this just in case the quick pass is off the table.
That's a good point, and you could see, Dave, they lined up 4 wide on the far side, and that immediately prompted a timeout by Cherokee. And one of our colleagues watching back at home, Nick Bavona, let me know that on that offsides call against the Chiefs, he believes that number 9, Daniel Cruz, stepped across the football momentarily, then drawing the offensive player into motion. So that's perhaps what the call was, though. That's some eye by the receiver in the slot to pick that up and then begin moving, because if he doesn't move and the defensive player gets back without contacting an offensive player, then obviously there would be no flag.
Yeah, sure. We'll see one more look at it, Joe, like we did last time, but now that we have the timeout replay and we could see it here. That step across.
You know what? He may have stepped across, and you could tell his hands went right to his face. I think Cruz knew it. I think he knew it was him. That's a good eye by Nick back at home.
But he is allowed to get back, though. If he hasn't touched anybody, he is allowed to get back. He just kind of stood there.
Is he allowed to get back if he draws the offensive player into moving?
Well, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like once Griffith kind of put his hands up, yeah.
Yep.
But I think at that point it would be an offsides, not typically an encroachment. But
I think the signal was offsides, I think, as they snap it right through Nugent. And a flag comes out. So this play is dead. Nobody on the Knights side was moving, and they are going to be whistled for a false start.
Yep. It's I don't know if the center snaps it and nobody else moves, it's still a live ball there. And I think that's something that Cherokee is complaining about here, is that, hey, wait, what gives? They snapped the ball. It doesn't matter if they were ready or not, unless they were just not set at the line of scrimmage. And you get like, I don't know.
We'd
it's like a live ball.
We'd have to wind it back a bit more.
Yeah, I don't know if Griffith was set. I think he was still kind of moving into his position, Joe. But now on 4th and 14, it looks like Old Bridge is still going to go, and they're still going to utilize the same formation.
Now I'm not so sure I would go for it, Dave. Nugent is looking to throw. Steps up in the pocket. Airs it out. Downfield. A lot of contact, and a flag comes out.
Yeah, I don't think there was much he could do. I don't know if Lontok was going for the ball there. Joe, it didn't look like he was.
Well, Dave, I said it before. If Griffith had found the football last time he was targeted down the field, there was a good chance they were going to get a flag on the play. They got it on this play. Whether or not it was the right call,
I don't know.
I'm not sure, Dave.
Yeah.
He's playing the football. We'd have to back it up a bit more and see maybe if he got his head turned.
Yeah, I just don't know if our camera was there in position to see that materialize. But that's all right.
If we slowed it down, perhaps we could get a look at
Well,
whether or not
yeah.
the DB turns his head.
We're going to see if
We
can
have some
get it.
time
Yeah,
here.
we do have some time, so we'll watch this one here.
Well, we can't if we slow it down.
Yeah,
so
yeah. We got to speed that up a little bit.
we'll have to come back to live
come
action.
back. Yeah, I just don't think we had a good enough look at it.
It's 1st and 10. The ball's spotted at the 22, and that is a huge penalty against the Chiefs.
Yep.
Their chances of getting the ball back with any significant amount of time now dwindling very quickly as Nugent will keep on 1st down, and he is tackled just inside the 20. Give him 2 on the play.
Well, we did say if you're Cherokee, you need to stay disciplined. You need to stay in your gaps, and they are. I mean, they are really plugging up those holes, and they're not giving these Knights rushers a chance to really survey and get to that second level. When they do, they've had a lot of success, have the Knights, but getting past that front wall has been very tough for this Old Bridge team.
And I think the most important thing if you're Cherokee here is to make sure that worst case, you escape this half tied.
Yep.
Do not give up the touchdown. Receive the second half kickoff in a tie ball game. I think you'll certainly take that, given the way this drive has gone now. It's been a long one. And Griffith will take the handoff on the sweep. He cuts back inside, but a nice tackle there to bring him down at the 15. Trying to get a look at who it was in on that tackle.
I do think, though, Joe, with that rush that puts him at the 15, now you're in Michael's field goal range for sure, and you're right in between the hashes where you want the ball to be, and there's only 88 seconds left in this first half.
Lorenzo Lontoc from his safety spot came in, and when Griffith made that move to the inside, I thought he had a chance to take it all the way. And now, with the clock winding down toward a minute, you have to wonder if perhaps Cherokee starts thinking about timeouts should the clock stay running here. Fake handoff, Nugent rolling left, throws and completes. 1st down, Serrano, as he is pushed out of bounds just inside the 10.
Yeah, and now if you're Old Bridge, this is your half. You could take this all the way down, leave pretty much zeros on the clock, and go in either tied or leading at the end of this first half. And what a momentum shift that would be. Remember, Joe, that this drive started at their own 4-yard line. So very much like Cherokee's drive earlier in the game that led to 3 points. That started at their own 9. Now Old Bridge is returning the favor.
It will be 1st and goal from the 8. 58 seconds to go in the first half, and you said it, Dave. Couldn't have said it any better. This half now belongs to the Knights. Griffith, the motion man. And Nugent will keep it. He looks to run up the middle, still on his feet, churning his legs, and he is across the goal line for a Knights touchdown.
Touchdown number 2 for Nugent. His first one went for about 15. This one goes for 8. And almost improbably, after down on the mat and down by 10, Old Bridge in the closing seconds of this first half have now garnered themselves the lead.
Touchdown drives don't get much more impressive than that, Dave. They started all the way back at their own 5-yard line. They did have the help that came from that penalty in the secondary. That afforded them a 1st down on 4th, but the Knights did what they had to do to make this touchdown happen as Michael's extra point is up and good. Old Bridge now in front, 14-10, and Dave, given the way this game started with them trailing by 10, they deserve a ton of credit for this turnaround.
96-yard drive, so that alone, the conversion of some key 3rd downs, the big-time penalty on that pass interference being a huge factor. I'm sure that Cherokee is still talking about that on their sideline, and they'll make sure the guys in stripes hear about it on their way to the locker room. But the bottom line is this. Old Bridge, if they want to put pressure on this Chiefs team, they have to get out to a lead. They have to force Cherokee to be a bit more one-dimensional than what they want to be. Now, 4 points is not, is not the kind of lead that's going to force Cherokee to get out of their game. But with 52 seconds left in this half, Now we'll have to see if Cherokee has any sort of a response. Otherwise, Joe, they're going into the locker room down on the scoreboard.
And let's very quickly go back to that flag in the secondary if we can, Brendan, and get a look at that play. That play drastically changes this game, especially now given the fact that the Knights were able to punch it into the end zone. But while we wait for that replay, I really can't say enough about the way that Brody Nugent runs the football. He not only can make defenders miss, but he is able to power his way up the field for extra yards, and there on the goal line, it paid off in a big way for the Knights offense.
Yep, taking advantage, too, of a defense that's a little bit more gassed than what it would have liked to have been on the field for an awfully long time. Gets a live action first here with Michael.
And that kick skips over one of the Chiefs. It's still in bounds and finally goes out at about the 23-yard line. So I think Brendan has that replay. We'll get a look at it here.
Yep.
Once the ball is in the air, Brendan, slow it down a bit. We probably don't need this much. We could scrub it ahead a bit as well.
All right, let's see what we got here. There's a little contact there at like the 12-yard line, Joe. Maybe that was it.
I'll tell you, Dave, he was playing the football, and I think where the flag came in was that he had to fight through the receiver to get there. And you can't fight through somebody on your way to the football if it means pushing them out of the way. I think I'm much more agreeable to that call following the replay. But a tough break for the Chiefs as they will hand off here to open up this drive, and they might be content to take this game to halftime. Gain of 2 on the first down carry. And the clock is still running inside of 40 seconds.
And if you're a Chiefs fan, great to see Murad Campfield back in the game. Getting that, albeit just a 2-yard gain, they'll take that here. And I think you're right, Joe. I think maybe they'll get it down here, take a couple of shots maybe, or they'll just be content getting into halftime.
I'd be surprised to see him take a shot here. They will fake the handoff and throw a screen pass. The Knights all over it, and Evans makes the tackle at the 31 with 10 seconds to go.
Yep. Now they have whistles, and I believe now the Chiefs will call their second timeout with 9 seconds to go.
I like the play call there. Stay conservative. Give yourself an opportunity to maybe break a tackle or have a blown assignment on the side of the defense and score, but I don't think you take any chances here. We mentioned how opportunistic this Knights defense is, especially in the secondary. If you make a mistake and force a throw downfield, it could go for points the other way. So
yeah.
I don't mind the play calling, but they do take a timeout ahead of 3rd down and 2, and at the very least they can ensure that the Knights don't touch the football again.
Yep, and that's precisely the point I was going to make too, Joe, is that now you're in a situation, they did put 1 more second on the clock, so it's an even 10 seconds here to go, but even if you run a play and don't get it here, sure, Old Bridge can call a timeout, but then you could just snap the ball on 4th down and just, take a couple steps back and take a knee, and you're not going to give the ball back to Old Bridge either way.
So 3rd and 2. Birdie in the shotgun, 4 receivers wide. Man in motion is Shartoff. And they will hand off to Campfield. And I'm not sure he got it. I think they gave him just enough. And that will be a first down for the Chiefs, who will take their final timeout.
They will. The clock would have stopped anyway with the movement of the sticks, but 4.5 seconds to go. The ball will be placed at the 34-yard line of Cherokee. And they'll get one chance here to throw it up and get something developed out of this play. We did see last week against Colonia an untimed down to end the half after a pass interference call against Old Bridge. Now, granted, that was much further down the field. Old Bridge's 21-yard line, that untimed down was, ended up being a huge play in the game because Colonia almost converted it. It was in and out of the hands of a receiver in the end zone, and if they would have converted, it would have been 21-2 at halftime. Instead, it remained 14-2, and Old Bridge was able to come back.
Well, I think the question now becomes, with this likely being the final play of the half, how aggressive do you get here? Do you think about completing a pass and trying to then throw a lateral? Do you just heave it down the field? I don't think you do that because you won't reach the end zone. I think the play call here has to be a run or a screen pass. I don't think there's much else that you can risk.
I was going to say equivalent to the play that they ran on 2nd down earlier. Few steps, slant, throw. Maybe
More
not.
than a few steps here, as Birdie will wisely throw it away. So that will do it for the first half. And after the Chiefs led this game 10-0, Old Bridge responds with 14 unanswered points. Our score at halftime, the Knights 14 and the Chiefs 10. The second half when we come back here on the PDF Sports Network. And we are back with less than 2 minutes to go before the start of the second half in this opening round playoff matchup between Old Bridge and Cherokee. After the Chiefs went in front 10-0 early in the first quarter, the Knights ended the first half with 14 unanswered points. Once again, this is Joe Foreman on the call alongside David Pizzuto. And Dave, a great response from the Knights in that first half following what was a tremendous start for the Chiefs. This game opened with what was effectively a recovered kickoff on a kick that probably will not go down as an onside kick.
Right.
You never see it, but the Chiefs took over, put 7 on the board. From there, they scored 3 more on the field goal, but the Knights really seized control from that point forward.
They sure did, and they maximized the opportunities that they had and that they were given. They stayed relatively penalty-free. They did, both teams committed a couple of big penalties. Cherokee committed a huge one on a fourth down that gave Old Bridge a first down on their second touchdown drive. So that was the big one. But we've seen this before, Joe. This script has played out before where Old Bridge has gotten off to a couple of slow starts. Their defense tightens up. They force a couple stops, and their offense starts to grind the gears a little bit more. And and like before you know it, now if you're playing the Knights, you're losing on the scoreboard, and that's exactly what's happening now. I think Cherokee should be very, very happy with the way they played in that first half. They were able to move the ball offensively. Sure, they got stopped, but their run game was good. Their passing game was okay. They had a bad snap that kind of derailed one of their drives. But other than that, they've played well. And defensively, they have, again, played well. They've stopped things at the line of scrimmage. They had Old Bridge stopped on what they thought was a fourth down stop, got called for a penalty. So to play well and be down by 4 points, that's a punch in the gut if you're Cherokee. On the opposite side, if you're Old Bridge, you got a little bit of momentum now. Can that carry over to this first drive of the second half where Cherokee will have the ball first?
Well, it's a point you made in the first half, Dave, that this Old Bridge Knights team gets better as the game goes along. If you're the Chiefs, you have to be a bit concerned by that fact. A Knights team that has been very strong in the second halves of games this year. They've proven to be a very resilient bunch, both game to game, week to week, and within the game. As we saw earlier in this one, they fell behind by 10. It did not faze them. They put together a pair of scoring drives. Their defense began to play better. That being said, the Chiefs' running game has been their bread and butter all season.
Right.
It was a successful ground game in that first half, and they would love to ride that ground game down the field here on the first drive of the third quarter and get back in front with a touchdown, as the Knights will try a short kickoff. It skips to the arms of the return man, who is tripped up across the 45-yard line. Couldn't tell if that was a 21 or a 27 on the return. I see 21 out there. I don't know if he was the return man, but either way, that was perhaps Resto, maybe Harrison, 21 or 27 on the side of the Chiefs, who will take over at the 48-yard line.
Yeah, and that's one of those in-between calls, Joe, where if it works, if there's a fumble, if there's, if the ball's spilled out there and Old Bridge gets possession, you think that's a genius call. When it doesn't work, you're almost like, why? Why do you give Cherokee that little bit of momentum, that breath of life here, start the second half? We'll see how it plays out.
Well, I'm in that second camp, Dave. Why? As the handoff is fumbled, and maybe that's why, as the Knights are signaling they have it, but the officials have not yet signaled in either direction. I believe the Chiefs got on top of it, and they did. Well,
why?
What do I know? What do I know? Now, my question to you is, do you think that these shorter kickoffs, onside kicks, are in response to what the Chiefs did, or were they part of the game plan?
I don't know. I'd have to think that they're part of the game plan. Maybe they're trying to keep it out of the hands of the deep guys as well. We do know that the Knights have given up their fair share of long returns this year, although they've been good. The last 4 or 5 weeks they've been excellent, but still, maybe that's part of it.
Birdie will hand off to Campfield. He breaks one tackle, hurdles a defender, and is thrown down out of midair across the line to gain at the 41-yard line.
Yeah, I got to tell you, with Campfield, it never looks like he has that much room. It always looks like he's battling through traffic or he's going to get held up at the line of scrimmage. And then before you know it, you blink your eye, and he's 10 yards down the field making people miss. And, he's a load to bring down, too. You don't want this guy with his squared shoulders coming at you, as we got a player down for Old Bridge. So a little bit of stoppage gives us a chance to look at this play.
And we've seen it throughout the game. Campfield has great burst through the hole. Once he spots that opening, he gets moving into the second level very quickly. And if you don't bring him down around the line of scrimmage, you're in trouble. And you could see it on the tail end of that replay as he went airborne and was brought down by 3 separate Knights. Now, Dave, you have the binoculars. I'm not sure if you can make out who's down. I don't see any angle that we'd have or we can see the number.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Zamir Evans, and I was trying to find him in the defensive huddle nearest to us. But obviously, he back is away from us. This is the best look we got right here. It's a good one. It could be Haran, perhaps. It is Haran, I believe.
He's to his feet
76.
slowly. Yeah, that is Haran, who is going to walk off the field under his own power. So the Knights will be without one of the big men up front for at least a couple of plays, probably more given how gingerly he's making his way off the field. And now the Chiefs will continue this drive in Old Bridge territory at the 41-yard line. And much like we saw in the first half, Dave, it's the ground game that has really propelled this offense and kept them on schedule moving down the field. When the Knights have forced them to pass it, outside of that 1-4 down, they haven't given up much.
Absolutely, and off camera you saw Cooper Birdie tying the shoe of Campfield. He's going to need that.
Handoff goes to Campfield. He has some blocking, and he is down just shy of the 30. And I would love to see when this game is over what he's averaging per carry. It has been a tremendous start for Campfield through 2 quarters plus.
Well, I'll tell you this. They haven't been taken down for a loss yet in this game. I think they had like 1 no gain.
They had one tackle for a loss where he tried to spin away from Evans behind the line. That was it.
Gotcha. And I was going to say that's one of the bread and butter trademarks of this defense, Joe, is forcing teams into 2nd and 3rd and long because of those TFLs. And instead, you get 9 yards on 1st down.
Walker in motion. And they will hand off to Campfield again. Campfield looks to turn it upfield. He does pick up the 1st down and some more as he is tackled at the 26-yard line.
Yeah, but still, that's a hard gain of 5 yards. And, again, this drive started at their own 48. Now they're breathing closer to the red zone here, and it's all on the ground. Remember what we said in the pregame. This team is very comfortable when they're running 35, 40 times a game, and it's playing directly into their hands right now.
And you can see the Chiefs really beginning to impose their will on this drive in the ground game as they hand off again to Campfield, but Evans is there. Campfield wanted to bounce it outside, and Evans was sure to deny him on the edge.
Yeah, and good job of gang tackling, too, because like you mentioned, Joe, Evans the first one there, but then it was number 33, Chris Benford, coming in and really cleaning that up just when Campfield was starting to get the motors turning again and getting those legs churning. Holds him to just about no gain or a 2nd down and a long 9 here.
Well, this is where you want to put this Chiefs offense if you're Old Bridge, especially in this area of the field. It is 2nd and 9. Ball at the 25-yard line, handoff up the middle, Campfield, and he is tripped up at the 23. That will bring up 3rd down and long. It's 3rd and 7.
Yep, and that time coming in late was Aiden Reynoso, who had a big game last week, come in and polish him off Campfield. And one thing you really like to see as an Old Bridge fan is Campfield with his back turned towards the defense trying to plug in yards. When you've got him turned around the other way, that's a great sign. 3rd and 7.
Big play here for the Chiefs, and you have to wonder if a field goal would be on the table. I would presume no. I think this is 4-down territory regardless of what happens on this play. Birdie in the shotgun, fakes the handoff, looking right, throws that way, end zone incomplete. He had a man open in the end zone, but he overshot his intended target. That was Walker.
Yeah, and Reynoso kind of as the safety came underneath the route and kind of cut it off, forced the receiver to go high on that when maybe if he cuts over flat, that's more in line. Just looked like it was a bit overthrown. 4th and 7, and we're going to get our answer now. And it looks like Campfield is going to line up in the slot. Birdie's going to be alone in the backfield here, Joe, on 4th and 7.
You said it, Dave. I think Birdie saw Reynoso, and he had to put it up high. If he throws that any lower, that's going straight into the hands of Reynoso on the play. Good pick up there, as we're going to have a timeout called by the Knights.
Yeah, so sensing that this is a big moment in the game, head coach Donahue elects to call for time, sees how the Chiefs were about to line up with an empty backfield, 5 wide receivers in the game. And, you know, you said it, Joe, during the pregame, too. It's a bend but don't break defense. And, again, if the Chiefs come away with no points here, yes, you've yielded the 30 yards in field possession, but you've also let them roll 3.5 minutes off the third quarter clock, and you get the ball back really unscathed.
And I think if you're the Chiefs here, obviously you'd love to come away with the 7 points, the field goal not on the table in this spot, but something else that has to be in the back of your mind. The way the Knights have played offense since about midway through this first quarter, or the first quarter earlier in the game anyway, it's going to be tough to come away with a stop that puts a 0 up on the scoreboard and get your defense off the field. This Knights offense has really been humming along since the start of quarter number 2, and that's something that has to be in the back of your mind if you're the Chiefs ahead of a 4th down snap here. If you give the ball back to Old Bridge, you could get it back on offense trailing by 2 scores.
Yeah. Yep, it makes it a huge play of the game, not just for the guys in gray, but the visitors here with Cherokee looking to cap this drive and the message that would send to this Knights team as well.
They do change offensive sets here as Birdie rolls left, looking, running out of time, throws, and the official was underneath the intended receiver as it sails over his head. Incomplete. And Dave, I have never seen that before.
Yeah, and now there's a flag coming in, and it's going to be against Cherokee for dissent after that play. Darwin Walker was sitting there in the zone. Now, granted, Birdie's going one way, and has to throw across his body, but I'm going to try to follow Walker the entire way. And, yeah, he's looking for that ball, and, yeah, it's unfortunate, Joe. I mean, the official's there. He doesn't know that Walker is behind him.
But look at the official's eyes on the play. That's the one thing that I really
Let's watch it one more time,
see
Brendan.
standing out. It looks like he's checking like a watch or a timekeeping device. He's not looking up.
We're going to see it again. And now that we know where we're looking, it's a lot easier for us to kind of pick up. And we're going to pay attention to the referee in the middle of your screen. And, I just think he's looking to sidestep where
his
senses
eyes aren't
contact.
up.
Yeah. That's an unfortunate play, yeah. And
I think you have to let the Chiefs say their piece after that one. It's really tough to flag them there.
Yeah.
Because that would have been completed for a first down.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I mean, now the ball's at the 37-yard line, so it was a 15-yard personal foul penalty. And you get the frustration. You definitely see it. I mean, I'd be frustrated too. And it's an unfortunate thing. Obviously, the referee does not intend to get in the way there. He's distracted perhaps, but still, just wrong place, wrong time. And it cost the Chiefs dearly because that, as Joe mentioned, would have been a first down.
Yeah, that's a really tough break for the Chiefs. But if you're the Knights, you'll certainly take it. And now that scenario I brought up before, a very possible one as the ball is fumbled. And the Chiefs say they have it. They do. Griffith coughed it up on the first play of the ensuing Old Bridge drive. And just like that, Cherokee takes over at the 37-yard line.
Ooh, that's a killer for Old Bridge. And, my partner last week, John McCooch, likes to use the term, Joe, is the ball going to lie on some of these plays. And, ball didn't lie there. The Chiefs were handed a tough defeat there, and that's a great job by them to get on top of that ball underneath that pile. I think that was 34, Joe?
Harrison forced the fumble.
Farrison forced it.
He forced it, yep.
And I believe it was Desmond Green who came up with the recovery. But the drive continues, albeit about 15 yards behind where they were before. I think they'll take it.
Well, John might say that the ball doesn't lie, but boy, that one really stings if you're Old Bridge now, as Campfield has stood up and somehow was still on his feet for another couple of seconds as he's tackled at the 35-yard line. But if you're the Knights there, Dave, that is a ball you cannot afford to cough up in that spot. You were handed a gift, and with a chance to potentially make it a 7-point game or even an 11-point game, you hate to give up the possession of the football on the very first play of that ensuing drive.
Yeah, defense has to trot right back out there and back at square one with a fresh 4 downs for the Chiefs. That being said, Kavas with a great tackle on that last play.
Trips to the right, 2nd and 8. And keeping it is Birdie, and he is tackled across the 35. Big tackle on that play. Coming in to take him down by the ankles was Kassoff.
Yeah, Kassoff made a great play because if he doesn't make that play, Birdie definitely has the first down. He's going to get about 10 or 15 yards on that play. Good misdirection there. You have to pay attention to Campfield. You know you need a couple bodies on him to take him down. You're forced to follow him. That opens up the lane for Birdie here. 3rd down and 6 coming up.
For all the respect that this Chiefs defense has paid to Nugent in the backfield, the Knights defense has shown equal respect to Campfield. And they were still able to take Birdie down as Birdie keeps again and goes nowhere. 2 Knights in on the tackle in the offensive backfield. That will bring up 4th down.
Well, what did we say about the Knights? They get better and better as the game goes along. That's a really bad spot, too, because they gave them, no gain on the play, but I think that was a loss of 1 or 2. Either way, 4th down and 6. Here we go. Another big play here.
I'm shocked they ran it, Dave.
Well, I'm shocked they probably didn't give it to Campfield. They've only given it to him once. That was on 1st down when they got the 2 yards. But that's your bell cow. That's the guy who's got to get you the hard yards, especially on 1st and 2nd down.
Knights defense looking to make another 4th down stand. Birdie in the shotgun, looking to his right. He's flushed out of the pocket, looking downfield, throws deep, and it's dropped. The intended receiver on the play, down to his knees, sprawled out on the turf, and unable to make the grab was Stephen Barba-Giovanni.
Yeah, Barba-Giovanni has to do a better job there. He's actually, again, sat down in that zone and was kind of waiting for the ball to come to him. He had to go down on his knees, but it goes off of his left shoulder. But on the run, this is a good throw by Birdie. I mean, there's really not much more you could do in between 2 defenders. That has to be caught. And death by self-infliction there by the Chiefs. That's when they're going to want back for sure.
No question, as 3 flags come out ahead of this first down snap. 4 flags, you're right.
So Old Bridge on the first offensive play fumble the ball, and now on their second offensive play get called for a 5-yard penalty.
Speaking of self-inflicted wounds.
Yep. But Joe, again, if you're the Chiefs, you have essentially bled 6.5 minutes off the clock in the 3rd period, but you have no points to show for it. That hurts.
It's a big drive for the Knights as Nugent is stood up after a gain of a yard, and that will bring up a 2nd down and 14. And if you're the Knights here, you do have the luxury of a 4-point lead. You're effectively in front by a touchdown in that the other team needs to score a touchdown to get ahead of you. Obviously, with plenty of time left in this game, that's not as important of a point as it would be at this time in the 4th quarter.
Yep.
However, you can afford to play field position if you're the Knights. If you end up in a really bad spot here, 3rd and very long, you can just make sure you pick up something and punt it away. As Nugent will keep here, and he is going to be tackled for a loss. Maybe he just got back to the line of scrimmage, and here it comes, Dave, 3rd and 14.
Yeah, absolutely. The only positive thing that's coming on this drive is that the clock is moving. But I think if you're Old Bridge, you're not really comfortable. You do have the 4-point lead, but I think if you're able to go and score another touchdown and go up by 2 scores and 2 touchdowns at that, you're going to feel really good about what you can do, because then you're going to turn this Chiefs team into a one-dimensional team. So it does make this drive pretty important here for Old Bridge. Not enough that they have to take the chance that can really come back and bite them, but I do think it's important that they get a response here. But on 3rd and 14, they got to climb uphill.
By no means was I suggesting they should play strictly for field position. That being said, they seem to have lost some of that offensive rhythm as that snap was low. It is fumbled, and it is covered up by Nugent as a late flag comes in right in front of the Cherokee sideline. So hold on here. This may not be a 4th and very long as it first seemed.
It could be holding on Old Bridge once that ball came out and guys being held up to try and get there. We'll see if we could see it here. So it's a sideline warning against the Chiefs,
okay.
Joe. So it comes no harm, no foul. That's just a warning. Second time will result in a penalty. But on 4th down and a country mile, they'll punt here with 4:14 to go.
That goes right back to my point, Dave. They had 3rd and 14, which after the loss on 1st down, setting up the 2nd and long, looked like it could be a possibility. And to lose yards on that play really hurts. And that's why I mentioned potentially playing for field position in that spot, as that punt is low and short, out of bounds across the 45, and they will spot it right there. So
flags are down again. And the Chiefs look a little bit upset on the far side of the field. So I don't know what this is going to result in.
Pending the flag, this would be the 2nd consecutive drive for the Chiefs that has begun in Old Bridge territory. The last one got started at about the 35. This one, for now, slated to begin at the Knights' 45. The officials still discussing things, as you see on your screen, and we wait the call.
Yeah, we'll get it here. Either way, even if it's a 10-yard penalty, and it will be against Cherokee, they're still going to have the ball in very good field position. That just hurts because you got no return there. So you pretty much got a free 10 yards or negative 10 yards that you were able to gift the Knights here.
With that, this drive will not start in Old Bridge territory, as they'll back up to their own 45 with the 10-yard penalty.
And Old Bridge only took a minute and about 20 seconds off the clock on that last drive, Joe. So really, the Chiefs have had the ball the entirety of the 3rd quarter. There's 3:59 to go. So there's still plenty of time in this game. But you have to, if you're the Chiefs here, I think it's almost imperative that you come down with some points here.
Dave, the Knights were given a gift to start this half. The Chiefs bled a lot of time off the clock. They were in a position where they could not kick, had to go for it on 4th down, and then the Knights get the benefit of that break on the 4th down pass with the contact from the official. They get the ball back and surrender possession to the Chiefs on the very first play with the fumble, and then they go 3 and out as we are still awaiting
I don't know what we're
signals
doing
from the official.
Unsportsmanlike on Old Bridge after the first penalty was called.
This drive's beginning in Knights territory after all.
Okay.
But Old Bridge, with a chance to potentially go up 2 scores, has really suffered an offensive letdown to start this 3rd quarter.
Yep. And again, I go back to last week when they were down 14-2 at half, and the defense came up with 3 big stops to start the second half, and that kind of got the offense in rhythm and moving in the right direction. And here's the defense for the 3rd time in this quarter, and for the 2nd time on their own half of the 50 to start it. This drive is starting at the 30-yard line. It's about a 2-yard net on the punt.
And that penalty negated the holding.
And then some.
Well, they had it at the 45 to start. The Old Bridge 45 is at the 30, so they just negated the holding completely as Campfield is wrapped up by his leg, and very nearly Campfield broke that one through the 2nd level for a touchdown.
Well, the schematic of defeating Campfield is you got to get hands on him early and wait for the cavalry to come in and finish. It's going to be very difficult to arm tackle or just wave at him and hope to grab a piece of his jersey and take him down. You got to have somebody wrap up early and then wait for the cavalry to come home. That's exactly the script right now.
Birdie in the shotgun with 2 receivers wide. Man in motion to the left is Shartoff, and he will hand off to Campfield again. And Campfield will have just enough for a first down at the 20-yard line.
Yeah, he's right at the stick, but the 3 is up. So
I thought they gave it to him on the far side. Apparently not.
yeah, I didn't see the direction to move the stick, so it's third down and inches.
The official on the near side overruled the official on the far sideline, and that will bring up third down and inches to go.
Be careful for a shot play here on 3rd and inches. You know you have the 2 downs.
I wouldn't take the chance. The way Campfield's running,
yeah,
just give it to him and get the first. But you're right, Dave. You do have to keep that in mind, as Birdie will keep it on the quarterback sneak, and he did not get much. The question is, did he get enough?
Yeah, I think he did get enough, and now they are waving the sticks over. So needed about a foot. He got 2 feet on the play. That's about it. As we now, after the sticks get set, we'll have 2:30 remaining in the 3rd quarter. And again, in a 1-score game, you can afford to just run every play. And, you know, they have tried the pass, but they're comfortable running, and that's exactly what they should do. They're having success with it.
They will come out in the shotgun once again here on first down. 2 receivers wide to the left. Those Walker and Resto. Shartoff, the motion man, handoff Campfield up the middle, and he is stopped after a gain of 2.
Yep, that swarming defense for Old Bridge gets home, and again, first impact is a yard or 2 up the field, and they're able to hold him there. Under 2 minutes now left to go in the 3rd.
It will be 2nd down and 8 coming up here, and the way that the Chiefs are running the football and bleeding the clock, as you've said, Dave, they've had the ball for much of this 3rd quarter. Possession's very quickly going to be at a premium in this game.
Right.
Walker in motion. Birdie, hands off, Campfield. Campfield racing for the edge. He is met and tackled as 2 Knights are in to make that play. Evans finished them off.
Yep. And Reynoso slowed him down just enough for Evans to come in and finish off the play. So nice job for both of those 2 young men. And here we go. Now 3rd and 8. And now the question becomes, you make a team that's comfortable running the football. Do you make them uncomfortable now with having to throw?
And would they kick here?
That's an interesting point, too.
I think they would on 4th and 8. I think they would. 3rd and 8. Birdie rolling left, under pressure, being chased from behind by Kavas, and he completes.
Short.
Was it bobbled on the way down? They will rule it complete.
It's 4th and 1 now. So, Joe, now your scenario plays in perfectly. Do they take the 3 points?
No.
Or do they go on 4th and 1?
They're going. 4th and 1, they're going.
Yep, and I would agree with you there. You got the big power back. They really haven't gotten him for a loss.
It's 4th and a long 2, Dave. They spotted him well short.
And let's see what we have going here. No, they're going to go to that wishbone set. This is the play that scored the touchdown, Joe. If you remember, they went off tackle right last time. Let's see where they go with this one. But it looks like it is Shartoff in the backfield and Green as well.
And somebody jumped, Dave.
They're both pointing in each direction. Judging by body language, this is on the Knights. And
that is a killer penalty on Old Bridge. That will set up a goal-to-go situation here. And with that, the Chiefs now are on the doorstep, poised to take the lead. And we've said it all year long, Dave. This Knights defense has had a knack for finding a way off the field, getting the big stop, generating turnovers, bending and not breaking. They need that to hold true right here.
Here we go. And coming upon the end of the 3rd quarter to boot. 48.1 seconds to go.
Campfield, the deep back in the eye set as they hand off to Shartoff, the fullback. He will take it in for a touchdown, and the Chiefs go in front 16-14.
I'll tell you what, that's a smart play right there for the Chiefs. Everybody in the building thinking that Campfield's going to get that. Instead, they give it to the up back. Kind of took a little bit of a page out of the Old Bridge book. They like to run that fullback blast when Zamir Evans comes into the game. That time is Shartoff, and Nobody expected the up man to take it, and he just cut right through that defense. You'll see it again here. Yeah, there it is. Everybody over pursuing to Campfield.
Nobody believed Chartoff was getting the football there.
And the extra point is a line driver that's no good. Wide left. And so we'll take that point off the board. 16-14 is our score. That's a big extra point.
That is a huge miss.
That they might be chasing for the rest of the evening here.
And we know how reliable Lucas Michael has been for the Knights. Now, we could end up in a position where a field goal could win the game.
Yeah.
And obviously, many kickers at this level never experience kicking for the win in any game. But in the postseason, that really is setting up for what could be a special moment late in this game if it comes to that. The Knights certainly hope not. They would love to put a touchdown on the board here, but you have to like what the Chiefs have done defensively here in the second half. When the offense stalled on fourth down, obviously not entirely of their own fault, and then were stopped once again by the Knights on their second possession of this third quarter. The Chiefs remained resilient. The defense stood tall, and the offense finally came through on their third drive with that touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. And, that drive was only a 30-yard touchdown drive, and there were two penalties, one on special teams because of a personal foul that put the ball at the 45 to the 30, and then, of course, the big offsides on 4th down and 2, giving the Chiefs an automatic first down. So penalties starting to rear their ugly head a little bit here for the Knights. And Brody Hunt called for a fair catch, Joe, at the 15.
Interesting.
That is interesting to me. It really is. And I'm trying to determine why. We might get another look at it from Brendan. But that was a legitimate fair catch. Unless he was expecting to get blasted here, as he's not quite the up man, but he's up enough. Let's see. Yeah, from the jump, he's calling for a fair catch.
That is shocking.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I think maybe he was told by the bench, if it's close, call a fair catch, so that the Chiefs can't get right on top of the ball and try and recover. They have to give you your space, but that was not close. There were no Chiefs in the area, and now the Knights have poor starting field position on this drive. They're third of this third quarter. The first two have gone nowhere. One of them only lasted a single play. Griffith in motion. Nugent will keep up the middle. And he is stood up just shy of the 20. Gain of 3.
Yep. And apart from that drive where they went 96 yards for a touchdown, correct. This is their worst starting field position of the night. It starts at the 16, and now they're at the 19. And Old Bridge needs a response. They really haven't been able to put the football up much in this game, and they certainly have yet to do that in the second half. And field position becomes a big factor, too. That is going to be the last play of the third quarter. So we'll switch sides here. We've come to the end of 3. We'll take a short break, and the final 12, and Old Bridge is going to have to pull another come-from-behind game out of their hat.
The Knights, no strangers to late deficits. We saw what they were able to do in overtime trailing in last week's game. We'll see what they have in store for us here tonight. 12 minutes remaining in this one, and we are through 3. The Chiefs over the Knights, 16-14. And we are back for the start of the fourth quarter from Lombardi Field, with the Cherokee High School Chiefs leading the Old Bridge Knights by a score of 16-14. Old Bridge led 14-10 at the half, and on their third drive of the third quarter, the Chiefs were finally able to break through for a go-ahead touchdown. They did, however, miss the extra point, which sets us up in a very interesting scenario here in the fourth quarter. A reliable kicker on the side of Old Bridge. Should they get into range for a kick late in the game, it may very well come down to the foot of Lucas Michael. That being said, the Knights hope that they can keep this drive going and put 7 on the board instead, with Old Bridge trailing by a pair. Nugent will keep it on second down. A nice run takes him out to about the 23-yard line, and that will bring up a 3rd and 2.
Yep, it's going to bring up a 3rd down here, minimal yards to go, and a lot on the table here if you're Old Bridge. And obviously we've mentioned it before, but this is playoff high school football, so there is no tomorrow here. The loser will have their season come to a close. The winner will move on to the Section 5 semifinals.
3rd and 2 coming up here, and the ball obviously deep in Old Bridge territory. But if they ended up with a 3rd and 1 that turns into a 4th and 1, there is certainly a chance they could decide to go for it. Griffith, the motion man, they hand off to him. He has nowhere to go. Breaks one tackle, still on his feet.
He's right
and there it is, Dave. Are they just short, or did he get it?
Spot is good. Spot is a really good one. Wow, I can't believe it.
What a run by Griffith.
Yeah, and you look back. I mean, if Old Bridge goes on and wins this game, you look back at some of the minor details. Man, what a play that was to keep this drive going. We said it during break. They cannot afford a 3-and-out here. I mean, even for the sake of their own defense, getting off the field for a few plays.
I think if they didn't get that, Dave, you go for it.
Yeah,
I think you go for it. It would have been that short.
Right. Well, not if he was wrapped up there where he should have been.
No. What a play by Griffith, who's proven to be a dynamic playmaker all season long. Here they fake the handoff to Nugent. Throw into a tight window is complete.
That was Rios. Yeah. Rios really has been very quiet in this, as have all the wideouts. Serrano's made a couple of good catches, but you got to think you're going to need that at some point, Joe, to really the arm of Nugent to really come into play.
Knights still hoping for that one big play. They really haven't had that in the passing game tonight. It was Griffith on a carry earlier that went for a really nice gain. That was the biggest play for Old Bridge offensively, and they were looking for the home run there. Nugent will keep it, and he will pick up the 1st down as he's brought down at the Old Bridge 42-yard line.
Yeah, and I think that's a great decision by Nugent. I think as the quarterback here, knowing what you could do with your legs, you do one read, maybe a quick second read, and then you run. I mean, you run. You just get positive yards here and just keep moving the chains. 3 and 4 yards, that's perfectly fine.
Make it the Old Bridge 38-yard line, 1st and 10. Fake handoff, Nugent rolling right this time. Had that pass tipped and nearly intercepted. That ball landed about a foot ahead of the nearest Chiefs defender. That was Harrison there, and he was very close to being in position for what would have been a game-changing INT.
Yep, and if you're Cherokee, that's what you're looking for too. Make that big play. You got the fumble on the last drive, and a couple of drives ago, they got one huge one in this half, and if you get the next one, it could be the one that inserts or helps insert a dagger into this Old Bridge team. Never out of it, obviously, especially with the score only a 2-point game, but they're looking to make that big back-breaking play as well.
Empty backfield in the shotgun for Nugent.
So they're going to have a timeout taken by Old Bridge. So now they're down to just one timeout here, Joe. So that becomes a big factor here down the stretch. 9:21 to go.
With every timeout called and with every second that ticks off the clock now with 9:21 remaining, this drive becomes more and more important for Old Bridge. Obviously, we've seen how the Chiefs have asserted themselves running the football. And if they continue to run the ball as they have through the first 3 quarters, it's going to be tough for the Knights to get more than maybe one more possession in this game. That's something you have to keep in mind. And Old Bridge now will talk this over ahead of a 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. Even if Old Bridge goes down the field here and kicks a field goal to take the lead or scores a touchdown, if you're Cherokee, you're still going to run the ball almost exclusively on your next drive and maybe even end the game on the drive, or what could be the go-ahead or winning drive. So that run game has the ability to shorten games, there's no question. And so if you're Old Bridge, now especially with just a one timeout, it's something that you do have to think about. This could be the last time you touch the football tonight.
And I think the luxury you have, if you're Cherokee, you're assured at least one more drive of being able to stick to your game plan and do whatever it is you seek to do. as the handoff to Nugent goes for a short gain of about 1 yard. That will bring up 3rd and long. But to my point, if you're the Chiefs, you are all but assured of one more drive where you can stick to the game plan, run the football, and not worry about the clock. The Knights don't have that luxury now, and they're looking at a 3rd down and 9.
Yeah, and I took a look at the defense on that last play, Joe, and they are really staying home in their lanes, and I think they can be had at that second level with a pass, whether it's a 5-yard slant over the middle or something on the sideline where you're setting up some blocking. Their linebackers are kind of staying put, if you would.
Nugent will look to throw. He's rolling right, being chased toward the sideline and running out of time. He takes off up the sideline, and he ducks out of bounds just short of the sticks. I think it's going to be a 4th and 1.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Ball's going to be spotted at the 47-yard line, and the 38 is where the first down marker is. So actually, yeah, it looks like a full yard. And yes, obviously I think the Knights would go for this. It would make sense. I think it's a quarterback keeper the entire way. I think Cherokee will be anticipating that as well with 8.5 minutes to go.
This is a play that could dictate whether or not Old Bridge sees their season continue past the night.
Yeah, and because Old Bridge is huddling up here, you got to be conscious of the play clock as well as they get some late substitutions in. That clock is moving down. I mean, let's see, I'm paying attention to the white hat here. He'll let us know when there's 10 seconds on the play clock. Now there is.
Nugent in the shotgun, flanked by Nugent.
Timeout.
And the Knights have used their final timeout.
You could see it, Joe. They were just using way too much time in the huddle, and then they got another substitution, and perhaps Aiden Rios, when he was coming out and Brody Hunt was coming in, was going to relay a new play into the huddle. It was just too much. And this is too much of a key moment in the game to get wrong. So no timeouts remaining with 8:29 to go. The drama here.
High drama indeed here at Lombardi Field, and this play could determine the fate of the Knights' season. Obviously, there is still plenty of time, 8.5 minutes to go in this game, but with a 4th down and 1 coming up here and no timeouts, whether or not you get this completely changes the complexion of this game, because if the Chiefs go down and score a touchdown and then convert the extra point, this game's pretty much over. A 2-possession game with no timeouts. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I think for the most part, if you don't get this, you cannot allow a touchdown. And you do have that breathing room. The ball right now at the Old Bridge 47, 4th and 1. Nugent in the shotgun and moving up to take the snap. I believe it was Hunt, and I don't think he got it.
Well, the near judge gave him it, Joe.
Did he?
If you look at the near judge where he is.
Yeah, I think they're going to give it to him, Dave. I didn't think he got it.
That first mini surge looked like he might have had just enough. He needed a yard. It looks like he got it. But that ball is right at the marker. They might have to measure this one, and they will.
That was Hunt.
And it's not a sure thing, Joe, because that ball is just short.
I didn't think he got it, Dave.
Of the 48-yard line. And I'm sure we'll get a good look. But you can see it's a direct snap here and just a little bit. That's hard. But look at the near judge, Joe. Look at where he's going. He's past the 48.
Yep.
He's past the 48, and then it was the far side judge who backed it up a little bit. Let's get a good look there. Oh, I think he's got it.
Does it get any closer than that? Wow. By less than an inch, it appeared. The nose of the football just out across the chains.
Wow. So 10 yards precisely on that last 4 downs. Don't forget about that great scramble by Nugent on 2nd down that really put them in a great position. On 3rd down, I should say, on the 3rd and 9.
That set them up with a chance, because if Nugent had been forced to throw that away or picked up 2 or 3 yards less, you can't call that play, that's for sure. And I like the play call there by Old Bridge. It's certainly easy to catch a defense off guard with a look like that. Hunt has lined up at tight end quite a bit in this game. He motioned over under center and took the snap. It is now Nugent in the shotgun, Nugent to his left. And he will roll that way as well, looking to throw, complete to Serrano. And Serrano is forced out of bounds at the 40. Will there be a flag here? It does not appear so.
Well, Serrano was looking like he was going out of bounds for sure and got kind of dragged out there. But that moves the sticks. And it goes back to what I was saying before, Joe, about there is some room out there in that second or even third level of the defense. They got Nugent bottled up precisely, as now we're going to have a timeout taken here by Cherokee. So that's their first timeout. And it's still early to be thinking that maybe they're trying to preserve time here. There's 7:52 remaining, but maybe that's part of it. But you could just see like that second level is playing kind of on a line.
That should have been a penalty, Dave.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Brandon, one more look at that, please. And let's take a look at what happens here at the end of this play. And should there have been an extra 15 yards awarded to this?
In real time, I thought so.
Yeah, Serrano looks like he's easily giving himself up here or just trotting out of bounds.
I don't like to see the game decided on calls like this. So I'm happy they didn't call it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a late hit.
Yeah, it is.
That's a late hit. Letter of the law, that is a late hit
Right.
and should have been a penalty.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for Desmond Green to even follow Serrano out at that play. He's out of bounds.
Yeah.
He takes 3 or 4 steps in and glides right into him. They got away with one there, but first and 10.
Empty backfield for Nugent in the shotgun. First and 10. Ball now on the Chiefs' 42-yard line. Old Bridge trailing 16-14 with 7:52 to go in the fourth quarter. Griffith in motion, and they will fake the handoff to him as Nugent takes it up the middle and will pick up 4 yards. 2nd and 6 coming up.
Yeah, good read by Nugent that time. He had Griffith going to his left. He gave the defensive end a quick shot with his eye, noticed the pursuit coming in, heavy on Griffith, tuck that one down, get the easy 4 yards.
Knights quick to the line of scrimmage. However, as we know, that does not mean they will snap it quickly as we are inside 7.5 minutes to play now. This drive may very well become do or die for Old Bridge here, as Nugent will hand off to Nugent, and nothing gained on that play as Nugent is brought down right at the line of scrimmage. 3rd and 6 coming up.
Well, at some point, Joe, I would love to see the fake to Nugent, then Nugent rolling out to his left and him throwing the ball, because that ball is there. That play is there because the defenders are making a choice at the line of scrimmage. Who are we going to focus in on? And they're guessing right. They're going for the ball carrier, the guy that comes out with the ball. They will move to Nugent, and if he decides to throw, he's going to have an open receiver there.
Once again, an empty backfield in the shotgun for Nugent. And to your point, Dave, that's the style of play that has gone to Serrano more than once in this game. Nugent rolling to his left and throwing that way, finding number 18 along the sideline. This time, Nugent will keep. He has blocking, but not nearly enough for a first down as he looked to take it toward the sideline. I thought perhaps he'd cut it upfield.
Well, I think he needed to because he got nothing on the play. That was a no gain, maybe a gain of 1. But it'll be 4th down and 5, and now with 6:20 to go. Obviously, it's 4 down territory, so they are going to go here.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised he flattened that one out.
Yeah.
It is now 4th and 6. The clock is stopped at 6:20 with Nugent having gone out of bounds.
And if you're the offensive line here, you've got to give Nugent some time. I know it's been tough.
Nugent looking right. Steps up to avoid the pressure and is brought down from behind. Huge sack for this Chiefs defense as Chris Tyrion brings down Nugent.
Yeah, he just blew right by. I think it was Balbuena or Haran at right tackle. I think it was Haran at right tackle, just blew right by him. And my eyes were fixated exactly on him, and that's the guy who's been getting pressure, and they finally get home. Look at the move he makes as the left defensive end, just bye-bye. And that's all she wrote. There's no choice. I mean, Nugent can really do nothing on that play. It's a tough break. That's a big boy coming in hot. But with 6:14 to go, now pressure mounts on the shoulders of this Knights defense. They've been coming through all season long, but I think they're about to see a healthy diet here of number 3, Murad Campfield. 3 straight downs. That's what I would do if I were the Chiefs.
I think the Knights will be sold out on the run, and Campfield still picked up a couple.
Yep,
Give him 4.
4 yards. And that's just it. I mean, unless you've got arms on him in the backfield, as we have an offensive lineman down, unless you have arms around him in the backfield, he's just going to power ahead for 3-4 yards. And that'll be enough. Official timeout with 5:59 to go. As it actually was not a lineman, it was
Walker.
Darwin Walker getting up slow.
Well, if you're the Knights, for now that stops the clock.
Yeah.
And that obviously helps in terms of getting yourself set for what we would anticipate is going to be another run on 2nd and 6. I don't see any way they don't run it. But I'll tell you, if you want to catch the defense by surprise and maybe put this game away, do you try the play action here? Do you dare?
I don't think so.
I
would
wouldn't
not.
either.
I would not. I would just continue to run the ball 3 straight times. You're in that area of the field where, yeah, you would punt on 4th down, I think, here, but still you could think about it if it's 4th and 1 on the Old Bridge side of the football going for it. So, no, I would just run it here if I were the Chiefs. And Old Bridge does not have any timeouts. So
that's why I would run it without a question. They have no timeouts. You can take 2 minutes off the clock running it 3 times.
Exactly.
And you would probably pin them back deep in their own territory as well. It is 2nd down and 6. Ball at the 49-yard line. Birdie in the shotgun. Will hand off to Campfield, who has running room. Campfield using a block, jukes inside, ducks down, and is out across the 40.
Well, now we know why this team runs 35, 40 times a game, Joe. Just power, power, power. And they're going to line up their best 11 against yours, and they're just going to move the pile. And now it's getting late very early here, 5:20 remaining. Old Bridge cannot stop the clock, and they've already gone 15 yards down the field.
Those timeouts that the Knights were forced to utilize, really burning them right now. Clock ticks down toward 5 minutes to go as Birdie looks towards his bench. I formation. Handoff Campfield. He was contacted about a yard past the line of scrimmage and still managed to pick up 5.
Yep. And if you're Old Bridge now, obviously you got to get Campfield down, but you also have to look for that ball and start trying to strip it out and pawing at it, punching at it, do whatever you have to do to jar it loose, as we're now 4.5 minutes left.
You have to think 2 more first downs would effectively put this game away for Cherokee. The Knights defense all season long has come up big in spots just like this. They need this unit to come through one more time. Officially,
timeout.
They have it at a 2nd and 6, and the Chiefs will call timeout here. So
they have just 1 left. I think they were getting close to the end of the play clock there, and if you're Coach Glatz, you don't want to go back 5 yards and make it a 2nd and 10. So they'll have 1 timeout remaining. And with 4:11 to go, I think it's a must stop here if you're Old Bridge.
You can only afford to give up 1 more first down.
Yep.
A second first down would effectively end this game unless they pick up a first here on this play.
Yep.
They would have to pick it up on this play. Now, I don't know if you caught it during one of the NFL games. I think it was last weekend. I believe it was the Giants game, in fact. Brian Dable intentionally put 12 men on the field on a 3rd and short so that the defense would surrender the first down and thus preserve more clock,
Gotcha.
as opposed to letting the offense pick it up on a 3rd and short. Or 2nd and short, actually. You would obviously try and get the stop on 3rd and short. It was 2nd and short. This is 2nd and 6, so no thought of doing that here. As Birdie will hand off to Campfield. He bounces it outside. He has the first down and more up the sideline. But Birdie, or I should say Campfield, goes out of bounds.
Yeah, I don't think he had much of a choice. He had such a big head of steam. He just got shoulder blocked out. Yeah. But this is fine because what essentially you've done now is you've gotten yourself in field goal range as well. So even if you conceivably just go up the middle, get 1 yard on each of these next 3 plays, you're not going to allow Old Bridge much time, and potentially you might have to force them to score a touchdown to come back in this game.
I think worst case now, if you're the Chiefs, you go up 5 with very little time remaining.
Right.
Shartoff in motion. Handoff Campfield up the middle. And he powers forward for a gain of 3.
Yep. And, if you're Old Bridge, you got bigger problems. You have to stop this guy Campfield, who, this drive started about the 45-yard line. Yeah, he's gone 35 yards on the last 4 or 5 plays. So, got to prove you could stop him first before you can even want to get the ball back here.
They have to stop him here on this set of downs, or the game is over.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you're the Chiefs and you pick up the first down, you have to go down before the end zone. You cannot score a touchdown and risk a missed extra point. You have to go down.
You're right.
So we'll see if they've been told to do so in that situation. Walker in motion. Campfield breaks a tackle and is close, but about 2 or 3 yards short. And Dave, that should have been the tackle for a loss that the Knights needed.
Man, it's like the cat with 9 lives. It's just like Campfield is never dead anywhere where he's touched. It's almost like it's going to be that second, third, fourth guy in that's going to do him in. But this is a 3rd down and 4, and it's a huge play. 2:50 remaining. If they don't get it, you have to think the Chiefs have to think about kicking a field goal.
If it's close, I don't think they will kick it. And Birdie will keep it. And it's decision time, Dave, as he's churning his legs. He won't get it. And it's not that close.
And Joe, I
hate that play call.
I can understand Murad Campfield is maybe a little bit gassed. He's gotten the ball 6 straight plays. But why you are not giving the ball to Campfield there is just mind-boggling. It really is. I mean, why would you run that play?
They're going for it. That's why.
Yeah.
They're going for it. And they got nothing. It's 4th and 3.
Nothing. That was a bad play call. I'm sorry.
I hate that play call. I hate it. But they're going to go for it, Dave.
And it better be in Campfield's hands. It better be.
Well, it won't be on 4th and 3.
It better be.
I don't think it will be, Dave. There's no way the Knights are letting him beat them on 4th and 3.
If I'm the Chiefs, they just called their last time out. If I'm the Chiefs,
I'm probably kicking it.
Well, yeah, that's something. Well, yeah, 154, yeah, because
they need a touchdown. They have no timeouts.
Right. If you kick it, then you're forcing them to score a touchdown.
Yeah, but you have to think about it, too. How close do you have to get for a field goal? Probably the 20. So,
yeah,
that's not that big of a difference. So maybe you do go for it and pin them back, because if you don't get this, you pin them back.
Right.
I changed my mind. I'm going for it. I changed my mind.
So am I. I think push comes to shove, I'm going for it. But, Joe, I'm only going for it because Campfield is going to get me 2 yards. I am confident that if you give this...
He needs 3.
He needs 3, okay. But I am confident that if you give him the ball, he's going to give me 3 yards. That's how much confidence I have in him on the Chiefs sideline.
His quarterback just gave him a high five. If I'm the Knights defense, I saw that.
Yeah. And I'm not trusting the ball in anybody else's hands. I don't care that, Shartoff got the touchdown on the 1st and goal last time out.
He's the fullback on this one.
He is.
The Knights with their season on the line. Handoff. Campfield stood up, and he stopped short. Old Bridge comes through on defense with 1:48 remaining, and the Knights will get a chance on offense, trailing by 2.
Well, the Knights needed the play, Joe, and they got it. They've only bent the one time in this half. They gave up the touchdown, and that was it. But for all the drives that have gone inside the red zone, this defense has stepped up, and no play bigger than that one. And listen, there's no timeouts left. They've got to go at least 60 yards downfield, maybe 70 yards downfield, just to give Michael a chance. But guess what? They have the chance, and they have it because of that stop right there. I knew they had to go to Campfield.
I hate the play call again, Dave.
So did everybody else in this building. I don't think you can afford to put it in anybody else's hands and not get it.
I don't like the I form. You basically tipped your hand before the snap. As Nugent now is forced to roll to his left. Running out of time, throws sideline, incomplete. And that will bring up 2nd and 10. But back to the last play, when you're coming out in that I formation, unless you're going to fake that handoff and run a naked boot with the quarterback, there's pretty much only one look you have. Maybe the defense could be thinking bubble screen on the outside, but when you're in a formation like this, with that many players on the line of scrimmage, there are only so many looks you can give a defense. And most likely the look you're going to see as a defense is handoff up the middle. And I think you put way too much on Campfield's shoulders there. He needed 3 yards right up the middle on a 4th down with the Old Bridge season on the line. I don't like that play call either.
Yep.
I don't like it.
I do like that they went to him, perhaps from the I formation, just a gap. Not so sure.
Nugent throws downfield, and it's dropped. Huge opportunity slips through the hands of Aiden Rios.
And I don't know, Joe, if Aiden Rios has the wheels to get past anybody else.
He was gone.
But, yeah, that looked like he was to the house.
He was gone.
With that one.
Yep, that one hurts.
Oh, man, that's a freshman mistake right there. And he's going to lament it. And I know the young man is going to, beat himself up over it. But that's a play you got to have.
And we said it all night, Dave. That Old Bridge was looking for that big connection down the field. You mentioned how the Chiefs were creeping in closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. They creeped a bit too far on that one.
Yep.
And Nugent nearly made him pay. Fortunately for the Chiefs, Rios could not corral it. It is 3rd and 10. Nugent will look to throw once again. He goes downfield, and he's picked off!
And that should wrap it up, you would think here. Yes, indeed. All they need to do is take a knee, and Cherokee's going to go on and win this game. That pass. Oh, did we look? No, I thought that was maybe a flag. That was not. But yeah, that pass was overthrown. It was too elevated in the direction of Jaden Griffith, and I'm sure we'll get another look at it. But yeah, that's just one that got away from Nugent. His eyes widened a little bit too much, and wanted to drop it in the zone. It was elevated. Just a tough throw. They should have had the play before. But, yeah, it's almost the identical play.
He should have went up the sideline with it, Dave.
Sure.
He had the wheel route up the sideline with a lot of separation. And I think he just locked in on Griffith. He's been his go-to target for much of this season. And the ball was a bit high. There was a window there. It was a tight window. But the window was there. And credit to this Chiefs defense.
Yep.
How about the second half they put together? When they needed stops, they came through. They pitch a second half shutout as the Knights, who led 14-10 at the break, will fall 16-14, barring something catastrophic on one of these last 2 snaps.
Yeah, it would have to be a fumbled snap.
Yep.
That's about it. Now we're going to have a penalty on Old Bridge, so it's just going to lead to 15 yards the other way as tempers are getting a little bit short, and, of course, the frustration mounts here. But, Joe, this is an Old Bridge team that did not make the playoffs last year. That was absent for the first time in a long time, and they get their kids a taste of it here. It's going to be a very sour feeling on their own team, on their own field, to lose to a team that came in under 500. But we said it. Cherokee has played some really good, talented teams this year. They're a strong running team. The goal was to make them uncomfortable tonight, and they just couldn't do it.
Well, I said it during the pregame, Dave. Cherokee, when they allow 2 scores or less, they don't lose.
Right.
And they allowed just 2 scores tonight, and that was enough. But obviously, if you're the Knights, there are a lot of different moments you're going to look back on in this game and lament the way that things turned out. Obviously, the dropped ball at the end is the one that is most recent in the memory bank, but they had the fumble on the first drive of the 3rd quarter immediately after coming up with a huge 4th down stop. They then got the ball back a second time in a 14-10 game and went 3 and out after they had stopped the Chiefs for a second time in the 3rd quarter. But with that final knee, Cherokee High School will close out this victory as they defeat Old Bridge by a final score of 16-14, moving on into the second round next weekend. This semifinal game, they will be awaiting the winner, and we'll get the bracket up shortly, but they will be awaiting the winner of the 2-7 game?
Yes, that's the thing. I don't know if they reseed, Joe.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure.
The way the bracket looked online, it did not appear as if they reseed.
Right.
But that would be, Eastern and Atlantic City in that game?
We will take a look at it momentarily. Yeah, but there's it on the screen now.
Eastern and Atlantic City.
Yeah. So they're playing these games tonight as well. So by the time we get home, Joe, we'll know what all these final scores are, and we can follow the rest of it. But for Old Bridge, a tough loss. And, when you meet a team that you've never faced before, a WJFL team, You come up short on your home field. This will sting, but Joe, a lot of players returning next season for this Old Bridge team. They're predominantly a very young team, and so, it'll be one to grow on. I'm sure they'll remember it, and I'm sure, they'll remember this game until late August of next year.
And we will certainly remember this season, our first covering this Old Bridge Knights team, and we hope the first of many for us here on the PDF Sports Network. It was a blast from day one. The parents, the coaches, and the players all made it such a good time for us, and we hope that everyone at home enjoyed our coverage of the Knights all season long. That being said, there is still plenty more to come on the PDF Sports Network in the coming months. We do hope to have the Elite Football Alliance playoffs coming up in the near future. We have some additional football and all-star game coming up as well. And, of course, our voice talent from PDF lent over on Flow Hockey covering Rockets Hockey Club. So you can hear from us plenty more throughout the remainder of 2024. But that is a wrap for us covering Knights football during the 2024 season. Once again, my name is Joe Foreman alongside Dave Pizzuto on the call tonight, our engineer Brendan Wold, and our camera operators Pat Gialorenzo and Vinny Massacol. Once again, our final score, Old Bridge 14, Cherokee 16. The Chiefs move on to the semifinal round in Central Group 5.